Welcome, friends, to Tanked Up, the podcast all about video games and beer. I'm one of your hosts, Ben. It's episode 352. I'm here with Lucy.
Oh, we could have been like end of the year 360. No, 356? 65? How many years, days in a year? I don't know anymore.
We'll never get that, will we?
Mm-hmm.
Unless we do a very limited amount of episodes
Which
next year.
we probably, you never know.
That's true. That's true.
Full podcast. It'll be like out of rupees.
Yeah. Just two update every Nintendo Direct.
Yeah.
Do we want to do one? Maybe. Don't know. And we're here with Aadil.
Hey!
It's our end of year show.
Ow.
We're going to be going through for the next couple of hours all of the games that we have. Well, not all of the games we've enjoyed. We've enjoyed lots of games, but we have picked and curated a list, potentially a top set of games that we want to talk about. But as each and every week, we're going to open up some beers. Aadil, what are you going to drink? Or which door are you opening to allow the cat to leave?
Well, see the cat? The door is open. There.
It doesn't matter.
But he's still yelling, so who knows? He's clearly senile. Let's be honest. And the other cat is still in her living room restroom. Because I've been away in Bristol for about a week. So obviously their acclimatized to each other time has been delayed.
Mm-hmm.
They've been fornicating.
I mean, Dorian. Well, I mean, he still wanks.
That's all he needs.
He hasn't had balls for like 12, 13 years. Boy, does he still wank.
What? I didn't know even work.
Wait,
Well, maybe
have
just
I
like
not told you
pent
about
up.
this?
No.
I've heard about this.
Forget the games. I need to hear about it.
Yes, you know how cats like make biscuits?
Yes.
Well, Dorian does that with when he does that with all four paws and stares either off into the middle distance or directly at you, such that like he's all four paws are kneading and his butt is starting to wiggle, and he's intently viewing you as a person / object.
As he should. As he should.
That's a signal that he's going to do that for a couple minutes and then stop, and then walk a few paces so that he can then self-fellate.
Your cat is
And like he's having an orgasm because his little back, because he's like on kind of his haunches and his back feet go in front, and there's a shuddering moment, and then he goes to sleep.
I mean, that's what we all do.
Yeah, exactly. I'm surprised. Oh, Lucy, I will send you a picture.
Shall we just
Brilliant.
come off air now?
Absolutely. There's no way we could top this with the actual game.
So I'm drinking Amundsen's Hopbliminal Messages, which is a New England IPA. I'm sure they're really glad that this was the intro to their beer. It's 5.3%. It doesn't have any flavor text or indication of what the hops were. But it's Amundsen.
Yeah, that's one they've. It's one of their common pales, isn't it? Like.
Yeah, I just hadn't had it in a long time.
Yeah, I mean it's always good. But
yeah,
one of their standard ones, but
Nice.
nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely not.
Good beers.
Yeah, my time in Bristol was extended by a couple of days because I was holed up in a hotel with the flu. So I did not get to go to the beer shops to get special end of year beers. So I went and got beers.
That's fair.
Good
That's
enough.
absolutely fair. Yeah. Lucy, what are you drinking first?
I did, however, get, I guess, special beers. Not that special. They're common, Christmas beers. But the one I'm starting with is Saint Bernardus. Saint Bernardus.
Saint Bernardus.
I want to say Bernardus, like the shoes or whatever. Saint Bernardus. It's a Christmas ale.
Nice.
I believe this one is it's 10%. There's no real information on the back as to what's in it, other than water and yeast and malts and all that good stuff. But yeah, it's Saint Bernardus.
Nice. What was the percentage?
10%, but it's a common Christmas ale. So, do they do it every year? I think they do.
Yes, I think so.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Nothing special, but yeah.
Cool. Might
This is
be.
the only time I celebrate Christmas. Cause to hell with Christmas. Like, absolute
This is it. It makes us feel incredibly special. I'm going to drink collaboration beer. Both of my beers, or the beers I got this evening, both collaboration beers. This is again, I did have a little trip to the bottle shop to pick up some beers, and as soon as I saw this, I thought I would pick it up. It's from Newtown Park and Arbor. It's called Deep Dive, and it's a 5.5% Oyster Stout. Of course, I don't know how much support they get now that they've decided they're shutting up shop, at least in their brewery. Potentially they might be doing other things or looking at other models. So we wish everyone at Newtown Park the best, and hopefully they continue brewing beer together, because they're very good. Oh bollocks, smash my phone on the floor, don't want to do that. And obviously Arbor, excellent at what they do. There is a bit of flavour text with this. Brewed with our friends from Arbor, we've based this beer on Arbor's legendary Oyster Stout. Liam, the oyster bar, shucked 3 dozen fresh oysters on brew day, which were added, shells and all, to the boil to impart salinity and minerality to the beer. Pouring a deep dark brown with a robust tan head, the roasted barley provides a nutty, earthy character, which is balanced by the salinity of the oysters. It has a smooth, creamy mouthfeel with a slight bitterness and umami finish. It's got Fugel and Brownling cross hops in it. Does it give me anything else? No, it does not. Obviously, it's got mollusks in it, so it's not a vegan beer.
No.
You can't drink it if you're allergic to shellfish. But I'm going to get this one cracked. And we'll roll back round to you, Aadil.
Sure. It looks like a pale. It's nice and hazy, though.
Yeah,
my
very
lighting
hazy.
is a bit yellowier than in person, so it's a bit more deep orange, like an amber straw. Well, less straw, more ambery orange. I mean, nice tropical, think like passion fruit, and then light sweet citrus, like almost tangerine, maybe a little pulled back on the sweetness. Maybe a bit of lemon as well. Just a gorgeous smelling beer.
Nice. You never find an Amundsen which doesn't smell excellent.
That is very true. I was just thinking, I was about to say, like they all do. Most of that carries through. I've got a lovely bit more maltiness than the taste or the nose would have maybe betrayed. But not much. It's most of the taste is coming from the hops. I'm getting a lot more bittering though from it. So really light maltiness. And to be honest, the tropical citrus is the main taste. It has this undercurrent of almost generic bitter, I want to say. There's nothing like, no specific bitter, just some bittering. Come on in. Okay, go downstairs.
Like, you're having all the fun.
I'm glad you guys can clearly hear him. I can see you both laughing. Yeah, I mean, it's a really solid example. I would say more of more closer to a pale ale than a NEIPA. It just doesn't quite have that punchiness on the bitter that you might expect.
Yeah.
Hi, you figured it out.
But it has that fruitiness.
Yeah, well, more
That's
more
what I
like
associate with NEIPA more so, the fruitiness more than the bitterness,
yeah, it's got a light lingering bitterness, more of the fruitiness, and like I said, there's just enough malts to make you feel like it's a beer, but not as much as it could be in either a NEIPA or an IPA, but that means it's incredibly drinkable.
Nice.
And what I like about the bitter is that it lingers longer. It's not very strong, but as the fruitiness and that citrus fade, you've got that bitterness sort of stays. So it has a longer finish. It's just not all the notes. So if you were looking for more of that bittering, you could just like take a longer break between sips, and it would still sort of sate that need. And if you didn't, down the fucker.
Nice, perfect. Lucy, we'll move on swiftly to you.
Yeah, the Saint Bernardus. Saint Bernie. There should be a saint named after Bernie Mac. Just
It absolutely should, yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's got all the Christmas aromas like dark chocolate, a bit of coffee, a bit of clove,
Mm.
a bit of star anise. You know, all the nice spices you associate with Christmas. But show you the beer. It's probably I'd say it's dark brown. Probably looks a bit black on camera, but yeah, quite a big head. But I don't know if that was just my pour. But yeah, the spices carry over. I think the star anise more so, the clove especially. It's not hoppy at all. It's quite smooth. It's quite not delicate because it's 10%, but it's got a nice smooth mouthfeel. But yeah, you're picking up on those like dark malts, definitely spice. It's easier than it should be, absolutely. But yeah, I think at the end of the taste, you're getting a bit more of that dark chocolate. I think that's just what brings it all around at the end. Like that kind of malty, homely, really nice dark chocolate, like kind of like, chestnuts roasting on open fire kind of feeling, you know what I mean? Maybe a little bit nutty now that I've said that, but yeah, that's really nice. I mean, is this Belgian? I imagine it's Belgian because they love their Christmas beers. So, but yeah, it's everything that embodies that kind of like Christmassy seasonal spirit in a beer.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's really Belgian. It's really good. It's really good, but that 10% is just completely disguised. So. I think you get that kind of warming from the spices more so than the alcohol, and that could potentially be dangerous. It's just like feeling good, nice. Feeling spicy, and then the alcohol just creeps up slowly at the end. But yeah, it's really nice to be fair.
Good. So we don't absolutely down these drinks. I'll talk about mine quickly, so we can move on to our games. Like yours, Lucy, there is a little hint of brown to this beer, but it will look black on camera, I imagine. A little bit of a slightly brown, but mostly white sort of head, which is dissipated really quickly. Poured quite, an inch or sort of maybe 2 fingers sort of thick when I poured the beer, but dissipated, as I say, quite quickly. Very light nose. It is that sort of sticky molasses sort of smell that you get.
Not to be disparaging, that's sort of what I expect from you.
Right.
Because their beers, they sort of remind me of like Bristol Brew Factory. That it seems kind of adjuncty, kind of. There's just this taste. I don't want to talk too badly of them, especially their current situation, which is terrible. Like, I've been to their tap room and it was a really nice, fun place.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
It's awful. It's like, but to be a critic, not that I, smoking, blowing smoke up my ass, but it's just like, there was just something about their beers that I feel that, obviously Arbor have been around for a lot longer, and their standard jar, it just felt something sort of unnatural about them. Okay. I don't know, just like...
maybe too many added flavours to the beers.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Not enough beer to sort of push.
Yes.
With a small addition, it was more, this beer will taste like X.
Yeah, and even though 2 weeks ago I said, like, oh, my beer tastes like it licorice, and I think that was because it was a take on a Snickers bar, so they wanted to get that flavour across. It just feels like some beers that have that kind of like overly licorice kind of taste feel like they sometimes have pushed a bit too much in the additives kind of.
Okay,
but
that's
maybe
fair.
that's unfair of me, but that's the vibe I always got from Newtown Park, and maybe I'm part of the problem because I felt that and I didn't pick up their beers.
That's fair.
And maybe I'm part of the problem, even though I've been to their tap room, would have loved to come again.
there's definitely a conversation about saturation, like market saturation and things like that. I think we'll potentially get into in the new year, because it wasn't just those guys that had to either close or change their model last week. I think 4 that I know of closed up. So, but we'll talk about that in the new year. For today, this beer, it's nice, but I know exactly what you mean, and what you're describing is this beer. I'm not getting much stout, so there's not a huge amount of roasted notes. There's not any sort of chocolate or coffee in there that I'm picking out. It is much more earthy. And they do very much, I think, said on there was an earthy character to it. It's a little nutty. Some of that is coming through slightly, but it is that slightly more, very, this is like 2-year-old licorice. It's not that big, strong licorice kind of flavour. It is that sort of molasses, slightly smoked sort of character to it. I like the mouthfeel a lot more than I like the flavour. It's lovely and smooth. It's really, really creamy, and it's.
You wouldn't get something like, I wouldn't have thought that when it looks so oily in the glass.
Absolutely. It's not sort of oily. It's more, but again, it's not on that kind of more foamy kind of. It's not sort of towards the Guinness kind of end of that sort of thing.
Like sort of Amundsen then.
It's not Amundsen. It's not like that thick dessert kind of stout level, but it's definitely got a little viscosity to it, which just adds to sort of going. This is it's not a big bit. It's only 5%, 5.5%, but it feels like it should be bigger because that mouthfeel is there and it's doing a lot of the work, which is great. But it is a big flavour to start off with. It is just that big kind of molasses sort of.
Yeah.
A little hint of maybe older, not so much licorice. And it goes into an earthiness which doesn't come across with a big bitter finish. There is a little bit of finish on the end, but it's only very slight. It might come out more, as I don't know whether it was caught on our intro, but I am a couple of beers in, one of which being a slightly bigger stout as well. It was a little while ago, an hour or so ago, so I don't think that's going to be lingering too much. But
no, I had a Imperial Brown Ale Kodiak from Full Circle Brew, which was really good, really nice. Go check that out. But the Saint Bernardus. Saint Bernardus is it's still it doesn't eclipse that basically.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Cool. So we will drink these. I think they will all go back pretty swiftly. So Lucy, we're going to start with you. I know you've got some honourable mentions before we launch into our top games of the year.
Yeah. Just wanted to mention some games that I had like good time with, but probably didn't think about them after I played them. But I think they're worth checking out. For anyone who missed it, this is our game of the year. Grapple Dog, a musical story. Electhead, which came out last year, but I played it this year on Steam. It's a very good puzzler, so caveat to that. Strange Horticulture. Probably the smallest game on my list that probably nobody's ever heard of, and probably I mentioned it on the podcast, but easy to miss this one in the fold. But it's very good for people who like grappling, like Grapple Dog, but like a sort of like action platformer. It's called Raven's Hike, so go look at that.
Nice.
Betrayal at Club Low, which I wanted to speak about on the podcast, is the dice-based RPG, so maybe we'll talk about that in a slot if we ever get free next year. But As Dusk Falls, which won an award at the Game Awards, it's like, okay, I enjoyed my time with it, but cool.
Yeah, it came out to like 9s and 10s in reviews when it released. Yeah,
I just thought it was a good David Cage-esque without all the David Cage bullshit.
Right, fair.
Yeah. Immortality ? Mileage may vary. There are some very good things about that game, but
that's the Sam Barlow one.
Yeah.
Yes. Did you ever start on mobile or whatever it is?
No,
know you
I
wanted to
didn't.
start on mobile,
I was going to start out on
Okay.
mobile because I was looking for a mobile game, and you said control scheme is probably better suited to mouse.
Yeah. I think it has one of the most. It's something that just engages you, but at the end of the day, the story just kind of falls apart for me.
Okay.
But, it has one of the most interesting takes on, not takes in terms of like the message it's trying to convey in a mechanical sense.
Right.
Takes on like film and movie, so check it out if you can. The Excavation of Hobbs Barrow, which is a point-and-click adventure, here. Dome Keeper, which is sort of like a horde tower defense game. And I just want to mention the ones that probably just didn't make the cut in my top 10, but probably games that I enjoyed, and I did think about after the fact. They just probably would have been like number 11. And that's Return to Monkey Island.
Right.
Ooh.
It was. I'm just gonna say one thing about Return to Monkey Island. The reason it's not on my top 10 is because it was just too easy a game. The game is not for me.
Okay.
It's for
Right.
people who are probably coming into that point and click genre. And I love the game's ending, which I'm not going to spoil, but it's basically telling fans, old fans like me, and
Best
fans
game.
who are even older than me, who played, the first game in the 80s and stuff like that. It's like, stop holding on to the past, man. You know what I mean? Nothing's going
brilliant.
to recapture this excitement, this passion for you.
You'll never have this feeling again.
Yeah, and I'm like that in general. You know what I mean? It's like
With every experience, yeah.
yes, it's like if a
It's all
game,
diminishing
if a sequel,
returns.
yes, if a sequel doesn't hit the same heights, I'm like, cool, okay, at least you tried. Whatever, move on
Yep.
with my life. There's so many more experiences, and
Hmm.
obviously, people who love that franchise obviously got upset about it, and it's just like, of course, but yeah, it's a shame that it hit my top 10 because of that reason, but I kind of like that it's like, I'm okay to leave it behind. I think some people should just do that also, but and in that sense, a game called Lucy Dreaming, which I spoke about on the podcast, is another point-and-click adventure, which did all the things that I wanted Return to Monkey Island to
Yes.
do. And it's like, that's another message of Return to Monkey Island. If you just only think about the games that made you feel happy back then, you're going to miss all the good stuff that came out recently. And that was one of the examples. But I digress. Stacklands, which I talked about 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Very good. I think this might hit Aadil's top thingy, so I might skip over that. I'm going to skip over it. Cause
Do you want to
Okay.
drop the name in the chat and we'll find out?
Donatella might be in it.
Yeah.
Most boring of turtles. Anyway, Stray? Is that on anybody's?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, cool. I thought that might be the... Point P definitely isn't. That's a Netflix only game.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the platforming game from the guy who did Downwell.
Yeah.
That's very good. And a game that I haven't finished, this is the last one, so I won't drown anymore, which is Proteus, which is a Doom-like, which I discovered a few weeks ago. It's on Game Pass.
Okay.
And it's like Doom that never looked like Doom, but plays like Doom. It's like so much more visually exciting and like 3D, and
Ooh.
play that, because I completely missed it, and I don't know how I came across it, and I was like, I think I looked at it on Steam, and because I have a plugin that says this is on Game Pass,
Right.
I was like, oh, is it? So I downloaded it on Game Pass, and it is very good.
Nice.
So yeah, Prodeus. So I think that might have, if I had finished that might have come top 10.
Okay.
To be honest. So yeah, but yeah, that's my honourable mention. Thank you.
Wicked. No
Thank you
worries.
for,
I will double check. Adil, did you have any honourable mentions?
Yes,
before we
I have
launch
one.
into- Ooh,
It's
okay.
called Loop Hero. I talked a bunch about it.
Yeah.
I
fair.
haven't got round to that. I own it on Epic Games. I need to get round to it.
Honourable mention. Just a quick round up. Honourable mention. Why?
It didn't quite make the top 10.
I thought that was your honourable mention.
No.
I thought it was like, are you mispronouncing Ives, the JRPG?
To be honest, my top 10's weird this year, but I thought about. I spent more time with Loop Hero than some other games, but it was outshone by another game on the list that's very similar, and it took time, but then I didn't go back to it, and I didn't think a lot about it, and that's why it's like number 11.
I think that's a differentiation, isn't it? Like, even the games we didn't finish, it's the ones that we thought about and wanted to go back to all the time. I think that's where it just sticks in your mind for whatever reason.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the games on my top 10 are games I haven't finished. Games that are still kind of in development as well, which they just stuck with me that little bit more than some of the games that I have finished. So I will kick off, I suppose, with my number 10. I will caveat this in saying that my kind of 5 to 10 are pretty interchangeable based on sort of whatever mood I'm kind of in.
I'll say that for me as well.
Yeah. I think realistically, my then numbers 5 to 2 are also pretty interchangeable based on how I'm feeling.
I'll also say that.
There's maybe one that's really stuck out for me, which might be a little bit different to everybody else's. But my number 10 is Tunic.
Okay. I thought one of you would mention it. That's why I didn't put it in honourable mentions.
Yeah. Very competent little game. There's a couple of issues with it, but overall, it's a very good package. It does a lot of really cool stuff with the manual, and how that game kind of progresses is really fun. And it's overall a good adventure game with a very bad ending, or at least a very infuriating ending.
Yeah, it doesn't stick the landing at all, and that's why it didn't hit my honourable mentions.
Yeah.
Or my top 10. I'll just say that.
No, that's fair. But I think it's enough for me that I could put it down and go, right, I don't need to get the 100% completion ending. I don't need sort of what I would imagine is the full-on ending. You've done everything. Here you go. Because I had such a good time with the game as I played through. And the idea that there was that switch when you'd sort of played through a bit and done some stuff and kind of hang on. I won't get into spoilers just in case people kind of, want to experience
want to play your honourable mention.
Yeah. I had a really good time with it through. It doesn't stick the landing, as you said, Lucy, but I think a lot of the gameplay up to that point was very, very good.
Yeah, like the accessibility options that helped me through just to beat the game is very nice. And as you say, I don't want to spoil it, but do you watch Gamer's Toolkit? What is it? The Game Maker's Toolkit?
Game Maker's Toolkit.
Yeah. If there was a shortlist, there's one that's definitely for me, which is on my top 10, which should win the best mechanic and most innovative mechanic in a game this year. It's what Tunic does.
Right.
And that's where I'll give that game its props.
Yeah.
As you say, overall package just doesn't quite stick by.
Yep, that's fair.
Otherwise, very, very good.
We'll roll round in my kind of circle. Aadil, I'll come to you for your number 10.
My number 10 is a game that didn't really stick the landing, but I did go back and I thought a lot about. And that was Umurangi Generation, the photo game in the revolutionary.
I've been wanting to play that.
Yeah, I thought. I mean, this is kind of it where it's like not smashing anything out of the park, but it was unique and playing through and getting more ways of being artistic with the photos was both annoying as a photographer, knowing a camera can do these things, but also a nice loop. That is what drew me back to be like, how much of the stuff that I was wanting to do can I do?
Mm-hmm. We should have played Pokemon Snap on stream this year.
Yeah, apparently.
That really infuriated you.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like the unlockables make it much more like actually being able to do stuff on cameras.
Yeah.
And the setting being these like sort of vignette, almost like 4-room dioramas, like, you know, a small space, but you can walk around, and it's got height differences, so you can actually plan and like try and take shots from different angles and really do not just the checklist straightforwardly, but if you just wanted to play the game and see the spaces, you could just take the pictures at once. But like, really, I had fun planning shots. My stream was really fun, and it was just a very unique game in the sense that it really did feel like I could be my photographer self in a game world, versus like photo mode where you like basically pause everything that's going on and then move a camera that's disembodied anywhere you want and get photos kind of exactly how you would want them, but you could never do in the real world, which is great in fantastic fantasy worlds to be able to capture things. And this was like, no, you are a tethered body, you are a photographer, and so you can only do so much, and it did replicate that really well. And I thought a lot about it afterwards, and I just spoke to people about it, so that's why it made the list, even though it's like technically not for everyone, I would say, but definitely worth trying, and it's a Game Pass game, so like hard to say no.
It's been on the top of my like Game Pass list.
Cool. Nice. We'll roll through quite quickly, I think, with our top 5 or our bottom 5s. Lucy, number 10.
Yeah, quick one is the Case of the Golden Idol. It's the closest thing that's done the Obra Dinn kind of, cryptic kind of logic puzzle. It's got art that might put people off, just like in the screenshots, but trust me, just dive in. It's the art pays off. It's weird and twisted enough, and it matches with this kind of this story that lasts 25 years. I think it's like over the space of like, you know, that kind of time frame, and yeah, it's just one that just it's great mechanically. It's one of the best detective games where you're given like the nouns and the verbs and stuff like that, but piecing it together is all you.
Right.
And even doing so, it's set over like probably like 10, 12 different vignettes, but at the end, it all comes together, this story. It's all telling this story, and like you need to use like the final, you know, vignette, piecing everything together over this 25-year saga. You're using your prior knowledge and the clues and everything you figured out from those previous vignettes, and it's just so satisfying, just putting everything together and just figuring out this weird, effed up story. It's just it's the best thing that we've come close to since Return of the Obra Dinn. So
nice, yeah.
And it's only like £10. It's just like just go buy it, play it.
Yeah. Good. We'll roll into number 9s. Mine is Marvel Snap. I'm still playing it. I have a little bit. It came at a very good time for me, and it's, you know, being on mobile, being very accessible, being a 2 to 3 minute kind of game suits me very much in my current situation. You know, trying to bop a baby to sleep, trying to help Evelyn do some stuff, and having a couple of minute break before she wants your attention again. It just sits very well for me at the moment. It's pulled me away from things like Pokemon Go, you know, anything else that I was kind of looking at on mobile as well. Yes,
I gave it a bad rap when you first talked about it. It's like, seems like a perfectly competent video game.
It's absolutely a competent video game. It's got some issues, and I have a few of the problems around progression and maybe kind of what they've done a little since with a couple of the updates and a little bit of progression as well.
I can see how people get pulled into it. Like,
yes,
especially with the X-Men.
It's a competent, it's
Marvel.
Yeah,
specifically X-Men for me.
Definitely,
but the Marvel IP.
And it's a competent little kind of card game. So that is just draws you, just pulls you along just a little bit, and you get that little bit of a dopamine hit by going, oh, cool, I've unlocked some points, so I can do this, and now I've got a new card. Cool, how does that new card fit into these different decks? Currently, I've got 10 different decks, all doing very different themes. Kinds of things.
Yeah, that's what I like about the game too. It's my number 9.
Hey!
It would have been my number 9, but I got into a much better strategy game. Stay tuned.
Yeah, so I mean, I won't add much except to say I like that it's quick. I don't play mobile games that often, but I haven't deleted it, and I've opened it several times since my first burst, and played enough that like more different strategies are coming up, and yeah, I like the fact that almost immediately you can go for a couple different basic strategies, so you aren't stuck in the same grind a deck for a while, and then like, oh, I now have enough cards to try this thing. Like, it's actually reasonably strategic off the bat. It's just when the initial push of getting free, like the free cards dries up, it becomes not as fun, because I actually like being able to try different decks and have stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
It does
so you're
that
saying
thing.
It's better than Magic?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't actually played Magic in months because the economy of Arena is garbage, and my friends who played in person are either not in the country anymore, or on the wrong side of this country, as me.
So better than Magic.
But also, I think I didn't realize when Snap came out, but it's made by the same guy who made Hearthstone.
Oh, is it?
Before he left, and then that
Right.
game started to be. Yeah, it makes a lot more sense on why it like
sense.
immediately grabs you in a way that's like, how come all these other games don't? It's like, oh, this guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice.
It's honestly what slows it down is the fact that it slows down because they want you to eventually pay money, and that's very clearly what's going on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. Lucy, number 9 for you.
Yeah, it's Pentiment. We haven't had the opportunity of talking about it on the podcast yet, but I think that's because, like, I mean, it'll just benefit so much more from like you lot playing it, and I think you'll get around to playing it. It's to be honest, 9 and 10 were like, what am I gonna battle it out over between these and my honourable mentions? But Pentiment is one that I've gone back and thought about just because, as I said, like Game Maker's Toolkit, if there's anything that should win like innovation of the year, it's the the dialogue system in Pentiment, because there's no voice acting. It's all, written dialogue, but the difference is with the written dialogue, it's all different script and different types of writing, and you get the characters like kind of social status and like confidence and literacy, all in the way the script is, or like their age or what kind of background they come from. Like if they work in the monasteries, like sort of Gothic text. If they're working on a farm and they're not very literate, it's this very sloppy kind of hard to make out writing, and I get that why that would be a issue for, in terms of like accessibility, and there are accessibility options in the game, but sometimes it's just like, I can barely read this, but that's what makes that game what it is. It's like, this person lives on a farm and cleans up pig shit, but it's like, it's like, but everybody in that game has a voice, and everybody has like this kind of, it doesn't matter where they are in the village, or in the monastery, or wherever they are in the bakery, and in the smithy, it's like everyone has a voice, and it's just all seeing these kind of everybody's different voice in this kind of very small village in like I think it's 1600s Austria, and it's just a like kind of small kind of this telenovela almost set in Austria, just like everybody's issues and who's sleeping with who and what's going on, but it's framed in a very relatable manner where God, these people have the same issues that we had. Like, we had a plague and everyone was stupid during this plague, and like religion just plays an interesting part in people's lives still. Just like, and the game has a message, but it's not a hit you over the head message. Like, this is what I think about, religion, sexuality, this and that, and it's just like society and how things are run, different kinds of economic structures. But it's just like obviously games have messages, games are political, obviously, and this
Always.
yeah.
Mhm.
And is it Josh Sawyer who wrote this game? He, it's like if anyone's played, it's Obsidian,
Yeah.
New Vegas and anything like that. And gosh, what is it? Is it Pillars of Eternity? Is that what they do?
Yes, and the second one maybe.
Yeah. It's
Deadfire?
like, you can get the politics and the the opinions of this person, but it's not like it also gives room for people to like okay, we're not batting you over the head with it. This is our clear stance, but it's just so much more nuanced than that. It's just a really good narrative game. You know what I mean? I wouldn't call it on like quite the level of like Kentucky Route Zero or anything like that.
Right.
I think it's as well written, but I think it's the fact that I'm talking more about the story of that game and not talking about the murder mystery, which is kind of like what that game's about. Is testament to its quality, and I think it's brilliant. And it's all portraying this like medieval manuscript kind of
Nice.
art style. It's really good. It's really good.
Good.
Go play it.
Perfect. It's a very, very quick summary of your thoughts on them, which is great to get, as well as why it's in this list, as we haven't talked about it. One game I've talked about at length, and we'll just mention as my number 8 is Planet Zoo. I started that game this year. I hadn't played it previously. It's based on like a couple of DLCs. I'm like, yeah, I'll buy this. It's great. It's such a good time wasting game. You can stick it on and just be like, I've got an hour to do nothing. Cool. Let's house some penguins and just get really into building a penguin habitat, or something for some giraffes, and just be like, cool, this is amazing. And then just like start to construct buildings and viewing platforms and all of this kind of stuff. And it's it's the gamification of my job. I enjoy my job, so I enjoy it when it comes with this extra hit. I've been like, cool, look at how happy these penguins are at this thing that I've made for them. So yeah, Planet Zoo is my number 8. Aadil, your number 8
is Gordian Quest.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
I remember this one.
Yeah, it's a deck building RPG that I streamed in June, I think. That has updated quite a bit since. It has a good story that you can kind of take different paths through, and it really does feel like kind of feels like if you've ever done tabletop RPGs, like someone who's like new to DMing and like is just following the path of the book, the manual, right? But the manual's well written, so that's fine. But there's enough RNG and like turn-based combat and gear upgrading and like party mechanics, and you can kind of it does the beginning of the game really well, where you can kind of choose which path you go to that will get you party members of a certain type. It kind of gives you enough foreshadowing, so you're like, I'll go this way so that I can get that person, and then when you go the other way, it like conveniently makes that a plot point that you don't get the other person, and like little things like that. Really good. But honestly, it was just really satisfying, straightforward combat. Like, it's basically like a few rows where you always come in from the left, the enemies always come from the right, but it's enough abilities and stuff that matter whether you're attacking from behind or your attacks can go through people, etc., that you can, and some of the cards will allow you to move enemies or players around, and so some of the RNG, like the deck building part, is like hoping you like either like making a very dynamic deck so that you can have enough cards that will move people around so that the big attacks will hit the things you want, but they will be fewer and farther between, or just like beefier people and like less movement, but medium-sized attacks. Like there's a lot of different strategy even in the first, I would say, 12 hours of the game, that you can kind of develop different approaches and try different things, and it has the flexibility of upgrading cards isn't so big that if you change tactics, you're going to get screwed. So you're not like locked into a deck archetype. So it just does that type of thing really well, and scratched the Slay the Spire itch. While being unique enough that I wasn't like, I'll just go back to Slay the Spire. It was a different sort of take, and I'm a sucker for these sort of
I mean,
deck
that's
games.
a high praise. Slay the Spire is very good.
Yeah, I mean, I think Slay the Spire is a better game overall. And actually, what I haven't done is there's that fan-based Slay the Spire DLC that's a bunch of people like that got released on their main channel. It's supposed to be really good. Haven't checked that out, but if you are interested in this type of thing and want more plot, because Slay the Spire doesn't really have it, this is like really good.
Yeah.
What kind of kept me on this was that I was interested in the story. Again, it's not like amazing, innovative novel storytelling. It's just good storytelling that you would want from this type of thing. It's just basically it's doing all those things really well. And the grid and movement around is unique enough in this type of game that that's enough. Like it's doing the deck building and upgrading well. It's doing the narrative interestingly enough, and it's got unique enough mechanics that it'll scratch all those itches.
Nice, good, perfect. Lucy, your number 8 then, please.
I mean, just go listen to any podcast Adam Thomas was on last year. Power Wash Simulator. It's everything you'd say it'd be. It's like just showering me in good
water.
foam.
Yeah.
Yes. It's very therapeutic. It's like instead of paying for therapy, I'm not a doctor. Just play Power Wash Simulator because you can just turn off your brain and just play it. And I can't wait for the DLC, whatever they're going to bring out. It's just so soothing and relaxing. And what I liked most about it though is probably the fact that I think it's made by British developers, but it's just this stupid story. I mean, when you're getting these jobs just to power wash things, pay attention to it. Because there's this ongoing like story and saga, and I'm not going to spoil it, but it just made me laugh. Like the last 4 missions, because you get like a set of campaign missions. I think there's probably about 20. But like the last 4, I was just in tears, just like what was happening, and the fact that you're just doing these otherworldly things, and very apocalyptic kind of stuff happening. And you're just still there in your costume, power washing these walls. It's just it's like Monty Python. It's brilliant. It's fantastic. Yeah, go play it. I think when Adam played it, it was still in early access at that point, maybe on PC. I can't remember. But the story that they have in it is it's so stupid. It's so joyful. And it's great. Just go play it.
Have you? As a very quick aside, have you played Visceral Cleanup Detail?
No, it's been on my wish list for ages. But it's that kind of vibe, like you're cleaning up guts. Not literally in Power Wash, you're still just cleaning up dirt for anyone's a bit, squeamish. But it has that kind of same subverted nonsense story where it's like, oh yeah, I'm just sweeping up guts that the xenomorph just devoured, you know what I mean? It has that kind of thing, but just a bit more, less gory.
Yeah. Nice, good. So, number 7s. Mine is a game which is, I think, still in development. It's not fully released yet. It's Darkest Dungeon 2.
Ooh.
Darkest Dungeon, I think the year that I played it, it's almost like a Hades situation, right? Played it in early access, and I'm like, this game's quite good. It features kind of, in the bottom 5 of my top 10 of the year. And then when everyone plays it the next year on full release, they're like, this is the best game ever fucking made. Darkest Dungeon had a similar vibe. Darkest Dungeon 2 is doing a lot of really good things. The change from when I first played it to now, it's not significant in changing the gameplay, but it's tightened so many things up. It's added so much more detail. It's changed a few of the menus and how some of the upgrading systems work. Everything just feels really tight on this game. And I've returned to it several times over the last couple of weeks when I've had, I know that I can just play for 15 minutes and it has a really good autosave feature. So actually, it doesn't matter where I am on a run. It will just save at that point. It's not going to roll me back to the start of a run or something like that. It's getting progressively more what's the word I'm looking for? Not roguelike. So whilst you do a run, and all of your characters die, and you do go back to the start, and there are things that are left over, like upgrades and those kinds of things. It also maintains like items and a few kind of other things as well that I would kind of expect. And I can't remember whether it was in the original build of this, whether it was like, no, it's a new run now, don't worry about it. Some of the stuff like upgrades have remained. Like more stuff seems to be like, oh no, you're going to carry all of these things through. There's more decision making that you've got to make. That really cool item that you liked from that previous run, yes, you've still got that. It's great, but it's taking up space. You're on a higher run now. Do you want to get rid of it for the chance of being able to get sort of other items and equipment and things like that? So yeah, it's a really great package, and it's probably something again that I'll talk about next year when it's fully released. I will just open up Epic just to double check that it is still in early access. I haven't been playing like the final version. Although I know it's not the final version because again a couple of days ago there were things on it that said like still to come, feature still to be implemented, sort of thing. So I don't want to launch it. That's not what I want to do. Where are my games? I don't know how Epic works really.
No one does.
Darkest Dungeon.
But I know where to scroll down to get the free games every day.
that's all I know.
This summer holiday.
Absolutely.
Summer, winter, holiday. Well, summer if you're in Australia. But having a Christmas, each Christmas they have like give away like 16 free games. So that's where I'm at.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Right now.
I don't think I've touched Epic Games.
It was
in months.
Sable at one point. It's every Thursday usually, but today it's every day.
It's every day at the moment. Yeah, about 4 o'clock for us in the UK, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Anything good?
It's
If I missed
Wolfenstein.
something magic?
I mean,
No.
Sable. Ben loves that.
I already
Sable's
own
great.
it. Or wait, do I own it or did I Game Pass it?
It was Game Pass, yeah. Sable was
Game Pass, but I think that's left Game Pass.
Yeah.
Today it's Wolfenstein: The New Order, which is
Oh.
real good.
Yep.
Not as good as the sequel.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad we'll never get a third version of that. 'Cause holy hell! What was it? The New Colossus is a flipping fantastic game. That was. Go back a few years. Was it 2017?
Yeah,
That was on my top.
Well, the Epic Game Launcher is just spinning its wheels for me.
It'll come up soon.
You've got till 4 o'clock.
But it is still in early access. So we'll talk about Darkest Dungeon 2 a little bit more next year. Aadil, whilst Epic Games is spinning, let us know what your number 7 is, please.
It's probably one of the most mainstream games on my list. It's Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga, because I literally got my fix and then came back to it a couple times, and that was my criteria. It does all the Lego stuff well. I like
Is
the
that
hub
all
world.
the Lego games?
Sorry,
I'm completely lost on this. Is it all the Lego games that have ever been?
No,
The
it's
Star-
like a
Lego Star Wars,
remaster
yeah.
of episodes 1 through 9. It's not like they just cobble together the old games.
It's a remaster of 1 to 6, and a 7 to 9 new, or were they actually released?
Oh,
How
now
many
you've asked
Star
me a
Wars
question.
films are what the fuck? What?
And
So they made a Lego
Han Solo's
No, so
Mini
Lego Star
Adventure.
Wars.
So the last 3 Star Wars films are that Skywalker and Rogue One. And
Yeah,
whatever. They've made a Lego game for each of those.
No, they made a Lego Skywalker. The Skywalker saga. What was it?
You don't even know what you're saying right now.
It
It's
doesn't
Lego
matter.
and it's
It
Star
doesn't matter.
Wars.
It's Lego and
which
it's
is
Star Wars,
good,
absolutely.
good enough.
I mean, basically,
That makes sense for you. We get why it's your number.
yeah. It's just fine.
Yeah.
It
It's like saying I had a Metroidvania as my number, so it's like, no, duh, of course. Lisa.
Oh wait, I think I've got this wrong. The Complete Saga is the one that came out in 2015. It's
I'm tired.
now I have to figure out what the fuck this game is called.
My number 7's Into the Breach.
Oh,
Let's talk
you
about
went back
that,
to it.
Aadil.
Oh, no, friend.
Yeah,
Nice.
It's on Netflix, and I've got back into it in a very serious way. It's one of those, along with my number 5, Vampire Survivors, which we'll all talk about, where I've just been like, I don't want to play a game. I'll just play Into the Breach or Vampire Survivors. As you said several years ago, Aadil, I think it was 2017 that it came out, which is kind of nuts. It's fantastic, and I don't know what they've added specifically, because I didn't get too into it in 2017. I understood the fact that it was a very good game back then, but like this year, it's just that is probably one of the best tactics games I've personally played.
It's because it's a puzzle game with tactics mechanics, right? I love that game. You reminded me I should put it on my phone, and it might replace all of the Marvel snapping.
Get rid of it, man. Get rid of it. Into the Breach, especially on a tablet, it's incredible. I bought it on Steam just because I could. So it's like, I want to give those developers money because I don't pay for Netflix. Screw that.
I said it bad. It's Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga, which is. So they only made a Force Awakens game. They didn't make a Last Jedi one, and then they made this one. But this one is...
I think they cancelled it even.
Yeah, this one is all 9 games adapted. And it's you go in order from the start of a trilogy. So there's 3 trilogies. You can start any of the 3 trilogies, but then you can't just like go to episode 9 or episode 5. You'd have to work your way through, but...
that's rubbish. You know what's better? Lego Rock Raiders.
You're not wrong. But I really like the way they made the open world hub areas, and then had sort of small regular Lego game levels spin off of those. It just made it an interesting spin on the Lego thing without it not feeling like a Lego game, and which is why I came back, because I'm actually kind of Star Wars burnt out, but I just like Lego games.
Really? Check me out in like 1996, but I was ahead of the curve on that.
Before you were like
before
they announced
before
the
other rubbish came out. Yes,
the prequels.
I was like,
and,
enough.
Yeah,
yes,
Lucy's like,
enough.
You know
the
what?
The prequels was like fervent up to the max, and I was just like, no.
Yeah, the prequels started in '99, right?
These are okay.
You watched like the Ewok spin-off show.
I love that.
The Star Wars Christmas special, and you're like, this can never be topped. Yeah.
I mean, Latara and what's this? Tebow and Bagara and go watch that. That's legitimately better than any other Star Wars.
Oh man, it's all on Disney as well. You can go and watch like the Ewoks animated show on Disney. Yeah, on Disney Plus.
Disney Plus.
I'm just gonna hang up. It's been lovely. Thank you for 2022. Really. Oh my god!
It's your whole day tomorrow. It's sorted.
After RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yeah, of course.
Honey.
Yeah. Let's jump into number 6s. Lucy, you just did your number 7, didn't you?
Yeah.
And my number. Yeah, sorry, number 6. Vampire Survivors is my number 6. So.
Well, right, Vampire Survivors is your number 6. Okay. Yeah. I'll talk about that maybe a couple away.
Yeah.
My number 6. My number 6 is Dying Light 2. A game which I put down really quickly, but actually when I came back to it, it held me. And I'm like, yes, this is actually really good. And I don't know how many patches it had been, whether it had changed a few things, whether it was that DLC, just being a bit more invested in the story. You know, one of my biggest gripes with Dying Light 2 is like, here's the story, here's 4 billion things that you can do. Whereas when the DLC came out, it's like, here's a story, do this, cool. Get to a point, and you need to then progress slightly. And I'm like, cool, I'll go and do the main story stuff. I'll go and do some of these side bits and progress through. Right, now I'm in here, I can continue with the DLC stuff. Brilliant. And it's interesting, it's well written, and it focuses that game so much more than the original release of Dying Light 2 did.
That's interesting.
Wholly redeemed by its DLC, which I don't remember the name of, like Family Ties or Bloody Families or something like that.
I think that's the first though, where the DLC has swung somebody. Because I was about to say, Ben, I think your top 5 is probably the land of the forgotten games amongst Elden Ring.
But more, absolutely, yes.
But that's cool though. Like for it to swing back around.
Yeah, that's
The
really
DLC.
good. That's exactly what you want, especially out of like a failed AAA game.
Yeah, definitely quotation marks on failed.
Oh yeah, I'm talking about like the zeitgeist notion of failed rather than the...
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
Like the other game you'll talk about failed but sold like 12 million copies, you know.
Which other game am I going to talk about? We'll get to that later.
Might have dinosaurs or
robot ones. Aadil, number 6.
What was number 6? Oh, it's that game that Lucy mentioned with a cat in it.
Stray.
Ooh, okay.
I mean,
I liked it. I liked Stray.
My one problem with Stray is I liked the first third way more than the last couple, but it still worked to the end. Just wasn't what I was expecting. And to be honest, the novelty of catting about done so well made it memorable. Not just because everyone was talking about it. Like I took a break. Right, I didn't finish it right off the first bit. But ended up finishing it, and it was good. It's good, start to finish. Tip, all cat, great.
Nice.
I think that's all you can say. It's good.
Yeah.
And if you're a cat person,
which I am apparently more than I used to be.
You're a double cat person. But I still even think that it's just good.
Yep.
Good.
Absolutely.
I like that one.
Absolutely.
Good. Yeah.
Lucy, your number 5. No, number 6. Sorry. Number 6.
That's Vampire Survivor. Shall we swing back around?
Yeah.
I think that's
we can. Yes, let's swing back around. Okay. So, Vampire Survivor was Lucy's number 6.
So I think we're going back to a deal.
So now it will be my number 5. But let's open some beers and then maybe spend a couple of minutes talking about
a good
a couple of previous games that we've discussed.
Such a good host, isn't he? Just forget about these things.
Who started drinking first? Aadil, Lucy, or me? I don't remember, but I'm going to open up a beer. I've got a collaboration from New Bristol Brewery and Fallen Acorn. It's one of their sort of winter collaboration beers. Lucy, pick your hand up. Oh, you're off.
Nope. Okay.
This, for everyone else, is the salted caramel popcorn stout. It's 9.5%. So I think it's one of the larger collaboration beers that they did. Tiny bit of flavour text. Dreamy toffee and caramel notes are complemented with the addition of popped corn, adding a delicious salty dimension to this creamy and indulgent stout. No nuts. Its hops are East Kent Goldings. Did I have Goldings in the previous beer? Are we getting to Fugel and Brownling Cross? But again, UK hops. Interestingly, but I will get this one cracked. Lucy, you're back. Salted caramel popcorn stout. I've got from New Bristol and Fallen Acorn Brewery. Aadil, what have you got?
I've got the Mile Maker. It's an oat pale ale from our friends in... Where am I? Why can't I see this? Wild Beer.
Getting old. Wild.
Another,
yeah.
Another one that's closing down, yeah.
That's why I picked it. Yeah, so it's also got a QR code that supports the Southwest Coast Path. It's like, you guys were doing it right. So the mile marker oat pale ale, New England style pale ale with an oat heavy grain bill and a vibrant hop nose thanks to lashings of Citra and Simcoe. Pale straw in color with a luscious hazy appearance and low carbonation rounding out the palate, making it smooth and drinkable without being cloying. Yeah. So 4.5% wild beer oat pale ale. And to be honest, what struck me about it was like you don't often see the oats being yelled about in the pale ale category. It's more of like, we've smuggled oats in because they're probably cheaper. So to be like, this is oat forward makes me super curious.
Yeah, and that's nice.
Yeah.
Perfect. Lucy, what are you drinking?
Yeah, it's another Christmas brew from another Belgian brewery from Dupuisson. It says established in 1769.
Ooh.
69, and it's called Bush de Noel. Just hitting everything. It's 12%. The
That's
strongest.
Noel Edmonds related.
We all relate that to it's called. I wonder what he's doing now at this very second. I don't want to know.
Trimming his fucking bush, mate.
This is labelled as the strongest Christmas Belgian beer.
The strongest.
Yeah, it's 12%, so I
Right.
very much believe it. Not going to bother try and translate the French. I think there's something in English. Beer brewed exclusively for the Christmas period. Ingredients: water drawn from beneath the brewery. Interesting.
Nice.
Barley, malt, sugar, hops, and yeast. That's it, really.
Okay.
Yeah, another Christmas beer.
Yeah, fair.
Mm-hmm.
Be interesting if it came out and it was, water drawn from beneath the brewery. Malts grown in the monastery fields. It'd be really interesting if these beers actually tell you where they will come from. One of the things that whilst you jumped out, I mentioned, was the beer I've got has got East Kent Golding as the hops, and the previous beer again had UK varietals in. It'd be interesting to see what that mix of hops and sort of malts and things are now, where people are getting their ingredients from. Because I know some of the big things on some of the breweries are the increase in ingredient costs, which I would imagine has had an impact from Brexit. But yeah, we'll talk about all of that in another episode.
I love English hops. Make more old English style.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, just milds for days.
Yeah. They're good.
Right. This has got a lovely nose. It is very, do they say what kind of sweet and salty popcorn? What do they say? Because it's very sweet. So toffee and caramel. It's very sweet on the nose. But there is that little touch of something a little bit more savoury. Again, a lovely smooth beer. It is much darker than the previous one. When I got it up to the light, it is just solid block of black. That's an interesting flavour.
Mm-hmm.
You get that roasted toffee straight away. You get a little bit of a sweeter caramel in there as well. You get that kind of, what's the flavour of popped corn without anything on? That kind of almost like nothingness, but just popcorn takes on those flavours so much that there's that slight bit of salt in there as well, which just sits at the top, and you're like, yes, you can absolutely tell that the toffee and the caramel are kind of those flavours that have been absorbed, but actually that salt is just stuck onto that popcorn. It's surrounding it, and you take it in, it just accentuates every other flavour that's in this. There's a slightly kind of bready feel to it, only very, very slightly. That's so smooth. I think the combination of flavours, because you've got that saltiness, it's not this is a nice sweet caramel, a little bit of a burnt sort of toffee kind of flavour. I can just drink and drink and drink. That saltiness sort of actually makes you step away from this. And that saltiness lingers, so a lot of those flavours stick around quite a lot. It's not dry. Actually, saying that, it's incredibly dry, but it doesn't feel dry. And I think that's part of the viscous, sort of much more full-bodied nature of this bit. This is incredibly well made, but I will say that I don't think it's going to be to everyone's tastes. But it is to mine. So fuck everyone.
Good.
Aadil,
All that matters.
we'll come to your beer.
Mm.
The wild. Yes.
It's got a lovely citrusy nose. And like true to form, the oats, like there's no like maltiness on the nose. It's like quite lemony. Probably from the Citra hops. But you're getting a bit of that thickness from the oats. So even though it's 4.5%, just feels a bit thicker than you would expect.
Mm-hmm.
Still quite wet, but just sort of clings a bit. It's entirely the wrong time of day for this. It's like so light and citrusy and kind of airy that it's like, right after this, I'm gonna like step outside into this like brisk wintry afternoon that I clearly picked this beer for.
It's for a summer's walk
Mm.
down along the coast.
I mean, I didn't really order these appropriately, I guess, but I picked this just because it was wild. Not
Sure.
because it was.
Yeah, I mean, that's good.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
But it is definitely like a. To be honest, I also did the classic thing of like, look at this brisk, cold tin art. It'll be fine at night. It's like, no, it's the West Coast Path that they're raising money for. Europe, it's good. It's a good beer. It's very drinkable. I'm gonna have to watch how fast I drink it.
Fair. Well, we'll get into.
Luckily, I will say the oat gives it just enough thickness that it feels like it might be heavier than it is.
Okay.
So it's drinkable. It's punching a bit above its weight in the sense of it feels like like you're like, oh yeah, I'm drinking a beer because it's just got that oat backbone is just giving it a bit more body.
Okay.
So
nice.
Hopefully that means I won't pound back this 4% beer and be like, hey guys, I'm just gonna go downstairs on beer 3.
Yeah. That'll be fine if you need to. Lucy, we'll come to you then.
Yeah.
For the strongest of Belgian Christmas beers.
Yeah. My bush is definitely like more ruby in colour. like crazily so.
Yeah.
Like it's not even brown, it's ruby coloured. It's probably called
Yes,
brown on yellow, but
you do get that little hint of red in that, even on the camera.
Yeah. I'm not getting too much from the aroma though. Just what you want from your bush. I'm gonna stop. But anyway.
I mean, don't.
Yeah, just not a lot. Not nearly as much as the spice on the last beer. Yeah, hardly anything. I'm getting a little bit of malt, maybe a little bit of dark berries, but not a lot. I mean, you cannot tell that's 12% at all, whatsoever. You'd probably think that's maybe like a double at most, maybe like 8%. But even then, you'd be like,
even like 7.5, sort of.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the maltiness carries over. I think the fruitiness it tastes more like a very not weak in a sense of like it's got less punch or anything like that, but weak in terms of ABV. Barley wine, like it's got those kind of like dark red and fruit flavors to it.
I haven't had a barley wine in ages.
Yeah. They used to.
But yeah, it's absolutely giving me that like kind of feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like raisins and dark berries, like I guess not raspberry, probably something a bit darker than that. But yeah, it's really nice. I think the like kind of lack of aroma put me off slightly, but in terms of the taste, I think the subtlety of it is probably just as nice as my last beer. Because that was just like so over the top, not over the top in a bad way, like more in your face with like spice and let's say cloves, star anise, all those Christmas flavours. But this is just so perfect in its subtlety.
Nice.
Where it's like, I guess you're still getting that kind of raisin, kind of what's that cake people like to eat? That's like raisiny and
Fruitcake.
like conical.
Oh, panettone.
I guess.
No, that's not
I guess.
conical, really. I suppose it
But,
is cylindrical.
yeah, I wouldn't say it's like Jamaican.
It's not
fruit,
raisin.
'cause
Yeah,
that's
it's not
just, like,
raisiny.
more- That's just like more rummy. It has more alcohol punch.
Sure.
Than this, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But yeah, you're absolutely getting like dark fruit flavors, and yeah, it's a nice but dangerous, subtle kind of flavor. I can see. Belgians must be fucked up this time. I swear to God, like, oh my God. Drinking what I had before in this, and just thinking, oh yeah, you know, having a 7% beer or whatever, you know, end up on the floor.
All everyone gets for Christmas is just like napkins or something because everyone's so fucked. They're like, "What? We'll buy this." For people. Yeah,
It's kind of insane.
I can
that
see
this
that.
is the strongest Belgian beer, but it's still so subtle and just a nice bit of maltiness and fruitiness. It's really good. Yeah.
Good, perfect. Let's then jump into our top fives. I might say I'm gonna break protocol because we've already talked about my number 5 and number 4. So my number 5 is Stray. My number 4 is Vampire Survivors.
Is Vampire Survivors a bit higher on Aadil's?
It is a bit higher on mine.
Okay, that's fine.
Let's
give it its minute of due.
Yes, we will. We'll
I
return
mean,
to
I'm
Vampire
also
Survivors.
fine with talking about it now, and then just like we skipped over Ben on Stray, we can skip over my 3. Sorry, my above in the list. No.
No, we'll come back to
okay
it.
with that.
I will say straight. I echo your thoughts. It's great to chat about. I think it was maybe not the first third versus the second 2/3 for me. It was more, I think maybe even the first 3/4 that because I played it quite quickly. I was like, yes, bam, 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 and got through it really fast. So it felt like quite a short game and quite a short experience, but it wasn't. It must have been about 8 to 10 hours, something like that. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm just completely misremembering. But the one thing I disliked was the ending, and no reconciliation.
Really?
Which is
I like that because
Yeah, I
that's
do too.
sort of like what a cat would do. It'd be like,
yeah.
sick of you, lot.
I mean,
I just want to go back to
sort
licking my
of.
balls.
Yes,
I mean,
I wanted something. But
That's fair.
I think that's
it lent more towards the. You think this has also happened with your companion, but did it? Other stuff might be. You know, it's kind of
I
just
think that's
a
where
little
they
bit.
categorise the cat that he actually cares. But what I liked is that he actually doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, he's just like,
see ya.
just.
I mean,
feed
The
me.
sky. Goodbye.
yeah.
I think that's sort of the problem. I mean, like the biggest problem I had was that it sort of shoehorns the cat into being a hero and not a cat. Like the narrative
But isn't
makes the
that
cat.
just like the perfect thing? That he's like, oh yeah, I like humanity. I'm helping you, and you're just like, here you go, you assholes. I'm off. You're not going to feed me anymore.
It wasn't doing it. Doing it for you. I just wanted to get the fuck out of here. Like,
Yeah, I think I get the dissonance that Ben's talking about. I guess
I get it from both sides, but
yeah.
In my own warped view, the cat was just like, whatever, bitches.
Let's roll through quickly. Out of number 5.
My number 5 is Wordle / Loodle / Absurdle / all the other ones.
yes, I still play them all today.
I stopped Wordle and Loodle. They were the ones I consistently played for months and months and months. And then I did like Absurdle, and I did try Octurdle at one point.
I was playing Nocturnal like over and over today while I was watching reports.
And they really did
shame.
work for a lot longer than I thought. It was great, and just they again came back.
I'm glad you put that on.
Talked a lot about them. They were very much the beginning of the year. I think I may have played a bit of Wordle in the end of last year. I can't remember, but definitely the spin-offs all came out in January or afterwards. And like I said, I mean, Loodle was one of the amazing things. My opening word in Wordle has always been boner. And then I played Loodle and I was like day 3 and I just typed boner and like, yep, you got it. I'm like, fuck yeah, I got it. Got it in one, motherfuckers. Should retire champion of this dumb game.
When you get that in Wordle, it's like ecstasy.
Yeah.
But,
I have a friend who uses the same starting word and then...
I don't. I hate that. Because the Wordle starting word that they suggest, I think the best thing is out of Wordle is WordleBot, which computes all your stats and stuff like that against other people.
Gross.
Like the one that that Wordle always uses. No, when you beat that robot, when it's like I got it in 2 and the robot got him in like 4, and he's like, "You're so lucky." It's like, no, you're just crap robots. I'm better than you, AI.
He's like, let's play chess. Don't worry about this.
I was like, well, I beat Wordle, no problem. Let's play Go. But it's just, but it is very satisfying. But I think the statistics out of that is quite interesting.
Right.
But it always starts with the word slate.
Really?
And slate was the winning word like 3 days ago when we were recording. I was like, screw you, WordleBot. When I got it in like 5, screw you. Well, I got it in like 2, but. Sorry.
What I was going to say is I have a friend who had, I can't remember what the word is, but they always started with the same word, and then people are like, just don't. Like, it's more fun. And so they didn't.
It is.
And they stopped, and 2 or 3 days into them doing that, was the fucking starting word, and they didn't get it because they were using some other word, because everyone's like, why would you use the same word?
But it's funner. Yeah. It's funny that way. You're not meant to optimize Wordle.
And so that's actually why I stopped playing those, was because there was too much chat about that, and like it was now interfering. Like what I liked about it was, I know boner's an okay word, and I am 12, so I'm fine with using boner every day because now I'm starting Wordle chuckling to myself because I'm 12. And then all the talk about the ideal like thing and like people posting on Facebook, all that shit. It's like, this was fine for like 2 weeks, and now it's like making this
the
less
meta. Yeah.
I need a break from this, and then I never went back. But it doesn't mean I didn't spend a lot of time and actually really cool conversations with people on like, I know through Facebook groups that I don't really interact with, that like we chatted about Wordle, and like it was cool to talk about the meta, but ultimately that was the undoing for me. But I still think solid zeitgeisty maybe, but it was just really like, it was a proper chunk of my gaming this year, and it really did sort of work.
I'm glad you mentioned it, because like it's still, as a New York Times, I do the crossword.
Yeah.
It's just something I do every day. And like even the spin-offs, it's like when I open Chrome, all of that's there for me. Like when I start my work day, it's like, okay, do this, that, not a turtle, Wordle, or Quirtle, or
Worldle.
Yeah.
Worldle was fun
too.
Worldle.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just do them all. It's a nice start to your day. It's like just So I'm glad you mentioned it. I didn't even think of that. So thank you.
Nice. Lucy, what's your number 5?
Neon White. Which, the story is awful. Just words cannot describe. It's not because it's anime, but it's really bad anime. Like bottom tier, really bad.
Like Dragon Ball Z bad?
I've never watched it, but it's worse than that. It just absolutely is. It's awful. The writing is so bad, and this came from. What's disappointing? It came from the same person who made Donut County, which is a bit memey, but I found it funny overall.
Yeah.
But it is. I can't tell you how woeful it is. And for the fact that it got on my number 5 shows you how good the gameplay is, because it's the worst writing I've probably seen in a game for a very long time.
Ooh, wow.
If I went onto Steam and just went anime titties, I would just be like, this is the sort of narrative and story that would be in that kind of game. And it'd be like, yeah, fine, I paid 99 pence for this, and I wrote that I was very sad in the Steam review, but
Right.
as a game like this, it's just like it's very disappointing. But you can skip over it, which I did.
Right.
And it was like, there's nothing for me here. I'm gonna skip it, and even though you still have to press skip, which is kind of annoying. You can. You don't have to read any of that crap. But the gameplay is very good. It's like probably the best example of like first person parkour that I've seen.
That's
like Mirror's Edgy.
Yeah.
Mirror's Edgy. I couldn't play the first one because of like motion sickness, but the second one had like was it Mirror's Edge? I can't remember what the sequel was called.
Catalyst, Cataclysm,
I think something like that. Yeah, I was able to play the second one. Yeah, because there was a few more settings, and it's like, this is really cool and like something what I'd love to like about Dying Light, for example. But it's just it's way more fast paced. There's no there is a story, but it's like told in intermissions between very quick, fast paced, arcade-esque levels, and I was obsessed with it for several months. It's very good. And I was playing on Steam Deck, probably because my bigger monitor, my bigger setup did make me motion sick. But yeah, I just remember like adding a ton of people on like Giant Bomb's message board. It's like, let's just be friends and play against each other. And that's probably what broke it for me, when I was like, oh yeah, I'm really good. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm okay. It's like, oh, I'm terrible. But then I realised, like, okay, yeah, these people play on mouse and keyboard, but it still feels so good, like on a control pad, and it's just so fast paced. And I really can't wait until you lot eventually get around to it, because I think
it's
really
on my list.
Both love it.
To be fair, half of your top 10 is like the top of my list of things I've been meaning to touch this year.
It's just one of those where it's like, sometimes you know that we're going to click with the same games, and it's just, we won't get around to it now, but when we, like, Into the Breach, like, this was my year for it, so, Neon Wit is just, so good.
Nice.
It's just so snappy, so colourful, so the music's great. It's just, it's an arcade experience that you reckon to something like, sort of like Space Harrier. Not quite the same perspective or something like that, but that just gives you that same feeling of just fast-paced, I'm a badass shooting things, you know? So, yeah.
Amazing. Nice. Cool. So, we'll roll around to number 4. As I mentioned, mine is Vampire Survivors, and we will return to that momentarily. Aadil, what was your number 4?
Well, my number 4 was another game I streamed, The Life and Suffering of Sir Bronte.
This is a really interesting game.
It is.
I have to remind myself of this one.
It's very much a narrative-based game. I had it up on Steam. I wanted to reread the thingy. Nope, it's gonna yell at me. God damn it, Steam. I played that in February. So I really like the art style. It's sort of like ink drawn, like book slates, plates almost, and it's a narrative-driven RPG set in like a world that is very class-based and specifically religion-based. And you sort of start the world being like, do I believe in fate, etc. And you kind of go down paths of, you start at the end of your life, and you know there's a war coming at some point, like a big war that you participate in, and that's like a thing that's landmark in your life. But that's all. But then you go and like you're talking about your life to someone essentially, and then you go back to your youth and you walk through the game knowing that this event will happen, but not really knowing your role. And it's really well done, such that you can, like, your stuff in your childhood can really affect things, and you can set it up where you can have the choices. you never know what the choices will do in the long run, like how they will shape the paths. But you have a few attributes that are initially shaped by your like, do I believe in fate, etc. But you can set it up where it's like, hey, when the choices come up, it will tell you what will happen to your certain stats or your like affinity with your relationship with certain people. And so when I streamed it, I turned those on because it was just like, I only have a few hours. We want to know what this works like. I did restart it with that off, and if I would thoroughly recommend playing it blind, like hardcore mode, because there's no like right path, and the narrative is so well done and it's so tightly written that I think the ideal is just pick the type of person you are and then make the choices that person would do and then see what happens and see where the story goes, because they've written it so well throughout that like that's all you need. And again, there isn't like a right path or anything. And so it's replayable in the sense of you could play it as the like, I believe in nothing, but I'm going to just pretend to buy into the faith because that'll get me to a point in power. Or you could be like, just like I'm believe in God, but I am like not willing to do political stuff. Like there's multiple different angles within those first set of choices that like it's super interesting. And like again, it's well done, and like having played it for a few hours with seeing how the affinities with people and your own stats get affected by choices in the background, it's doing the thing. So it's worth just like sitting there and like, okay, so what do I want to be? Do I want to be a person guided by the world, or a person who thinks they're guided by the world, or a person who rejects that, but also is a people pleaser, or blah, blah, blah. Like there's 3 or 4 vectors immediately that you can shape what you think it is. And then when you hit these choice points, you actually stop and like, okay, so what would I do versus what I want to do? And by not having those like those possible, like reading the stat changes, you won't get lured into not doing what you think the character you've chosen would do. Because you're like, but it would be really handy if I didn't piss off my dad. It's like, you're like, well, I'm going to do this. Oh, it pissed off my dad, right? Like, and that's what the strength of the game is pissing off your dad, is what I'm saying.
Excellent. No, I remember you talking about this. I had to remind myself of the title.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's way more in-depth narratively than Gordian Quest. But, I think you'd like it just when you're talking about that. I think you'd like Obsidian's Pentiment. Because,
it's near the top of my list.
It's very much that, and Pentiment probably where I may not play. What is it, Saint Bernardus? I would play Pentiment because it's a RPG in drag, because they're not completely showing all of their RPG systems up front. It's very much a narrative adventure game,
right?
But the RPG layers are so ingrained and so deep, and it's like you don't realize that until
you're farther
something pops up. Yeah, something pops up, and it's like you made these decisions, so you can only do this, or this is the decision that you'll make, and it's just it's so incredibly vast in that sense that you don't understand. I'm not trying to take the light away from Bronte, but
I mean, from what I've read, Pentiment is like there's a reason why it's near the top of my list. Unfortunately, I described it to someone who now wants to play it through with me.
It, man.
Yeah, but I'm which means I won't be playing it over the holidays.
Yeah, right. Whenever you get around to it, I mean, games are evergreen, especially this is like 1500s. So.
Yeah,
but it's just everything that you described to me, as I say, not to
I think it sounds like they're very different types of narrative games.
I think it's so similar though. It's like where religion and philosophy and stuff like that.
So Bronte, I think, is much more of a story of a person in a world.
Yes.
While Pentiment seems to be the world matters and who you interact with more people potentially is what I've gathered. But I will report back when I play it.
I think so, but you are setting out your character traits of the central character you do play over several acts, and they're very similar. As I say, like Pentament's number 9 on my list. Ranke's, very high on yours. I think just narrative experiences, if you want that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, but I'd be remiss to say, go play. Oh my god, the name's gone from me. Game that I got from you, Ben. Sugar. I was gonna say it 2 seconds ago.
Several games.
Yes. I'll come back to it. Move on.
Okay. We're talking now about your number 4.
Oh, well, screw that game. But I'm just. Oh, I really want to find the. It'll only take.
Yeah, go on.
Fill it with whatever you like.
I will fill it. Do you know what I'm going to fill it with? I'm going to fill it with Aadil, a game for you that released a few days ago. Duelist 2.
Duelist 2.
I remember
Road
you
Warden.
really enjoyed.
Road Warden.
Yes, we haven't talked about that.
Yes,
I'm being chased. I'm being chased for coverage on that game.
Oh, are you? I'll play it more in the new year because it's one of those very reedy games, and I've started it, and it's very in depth, like Sir Ranke. I just want to devote so much time to it because it's just like
what?
Road Warden.
No, Ben's just told me what a game I didn't know existed.
No, Duelist. So again, Duelist 2. You put a lot of time into Duelist.
Oh yeah, boy did I ever.
This game is made by a different developer. I imagine that it builds on the first, from what I can gather from the text on the store page. So yes, we'll let other people look at that. If you've enjoyed past episodes and Aadil's many episodes where he talks about Duelist, Duelist 2 exists, and it's free to play on Steam as well, which is a big bonus.
My bad, Ben. I'll play that before I play any more Skyrim. I'm sick in the head, but I'll play. I've been really wanting to get into Road Warden because it seems like a narrative game that I just absolutely love.
But it's one of those that you need time.
You need to be in that headspace.
Yeah.
You need to be in a reedy headspace.
Mm.
But yeah, I think I've played probably less than an hour, which I'm very ashamed about.
Sure.
But,
So
it's dense in its like lore and knowledge, but it seems like something that would be really fantastic to get into.
Yeah, absolutely. Right.
I
Aadil,
see.
your comment, and then we'll hit Lucy's number 4 before we hit our top 3.
Duelist 2 is made by fans to remake Duelist, which one of the big problems was it was bought by Bandai and then monetized to crap. And then, surprisingly, the player count went down and it died. So apparently, after it died, they got permission to make it again. Which is interesting. I will have to check this out. You've made my day-ish.
Well, just by seeing our beautiful faces. Lucy, number 4.
Speaking of narrative games,
Oh,
also on Game Pass. Hold on.
Citizen Sleep.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of my top 10 can be played on Game Pass. That's fine.
Wow, that's really good.
Yeah. My number 4 is Norco.
Oh, Norco.
Which, I don't think enough people play that game because it's like Kentucky Route Zero levels. It's incredible. I played it around the same time as Immortality, and the games that are like juggling a lot of metaphors, a lot of meaning, and a lot of social commentary. I think Immortality went like this, and it like dropped like almost but one of its 6 juggling balls.
Okay.
And Norco, it caught all of them. It is just an insane game that has so many metaphors and so many that are like literally on the head, like just knocking you over the head with it. And it's like, this is the meaning of this. And it's like, yeah, but you're portraying it in a very same as Kentucky Route Zero, like magical, realist kind of way, surrealism kind of way, but it works, and it's set in Louisiana, and it's very like cliche to say like the world alone is a character, but it absolutely is. It's just like you can feel like I've never been to Louisiana, but you can imagine the burden and heat and onus, onerous like kind of like perspective of like where that place came from, like Southern America, slave America, place that has just been devastated by capitalism and just corporations moving in, because Norco's literally a I don't know the name of the actual like, is it petroleum country that actually company that's actually like has ownership over a piece of the land there, but it's made by people who have like actual experience in history in that area. Same was Kentucky Route Zero. I think they were definitely from the south on that like Rust Belt area, but it's just like you can feel it in just like the words and the pixel art.
They've also been able, like, they almost have been able to convey a culture.
Yeah, and it's nuts. It's just like something that's so. I mean, the pixel art is incredible, but just something that's just such a low pixel density. It's like to portray that kind of sense and feeling. It's crazy, and the game gets wacky. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's quite funny at times. It's comical. There's moments of levity. There are characters who are just like over the top stupid, just like Bill and Ted almost.
Yeah.
But it's like there's so many things about like capitalism, like generational debt, and just poverty, and just everything about it. It's just it's nuts. The narrative is so crazy. It's just so well written. It's a game that I would have said everyone should play Kentucky Route Zero, like especially when I recommended it to you, Ben. But it was like right off the back of the pandemic, at the very start of the pandemic, and we saw what it did to people who were not as fortunate as that, and it's like this will just depress the hell out of you. You know what I mean? But I think this game is like it's got enough levity to it that it can still be played. And people can still enjoy it. It's hilarious at the same time as it is depressing and otherworldly. It's an
interesting.
Incredible game.
Like I've watched the trailer, and again, it's a game that I've. It was early this year, wasn't it, that it came out? It's a game that's been on my radar for a while, but because it doesn't ape, but it reminds me, especially in a lot of the sort of imagery and stuff of Kentucky Route Zero, but also 2048 Read Only Memories and Genesis Noir, the surrealist nature of that kind of game. It feels like it's pulling from lots of different very, very good places.
Absolutely. I think it's probably more Read Only Memories, where it's got a bit more humour to it. Than Kentucky Route Zero, which is all sad.
Yes.
Yeah, literally all sad. But it's just an incredible feat of narrative mixed with setting and pixel art, and
amazing.
It's so good. Any other year it would have been number one. Like absolutely,
right.
It's so good. I don't even know how it's number 4 right now.
Okay. Well, so it's a strong top 3. Okay, let's roll into top 3s then. I imagine if you are a avid listener of the podcast, you can probably name from the games that I've played so far my top 3. My number 3 is Rollerdrome.
Right, I've forgot about Rollerdrome.
Yeah.
Which again is an excellently made game. Like the way that game feels to play is so natural. For anyone who doesn't know, you're a character on roller skates in an arena, battling characters, shooting guns, and having to kill them. The game wants you to build up combos. It wants you to get high scores. It gives you objectives to have per level. And it's one of those where you do go back. You want to beat your score. You don't just want to beat your score, you want to beat other people's scores. You know that actually if you just hit that other objective as well, like if you get all the combo tokens, or if you just pull a specific move over a gap, or if you kill enemies in a certain way, you'll just got those extra little points. And that will just bump you up above everyone else. And I've only returned to it a few times.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of games on my list.
So it's like
there is a little bit of a narrative through it, absolutely.
so
but you could just
Yeah.
But you could just not worry about the narrative. But the narrative is very interesting. It's a very interesting dystopian future that the game is set itself in, and it just feels so good to play. That's the big takeaway from it. There's all these other parts like the narrative.
I bought it then, and I wish I was you. This is one of the cases where it's like you've played Ollie Ollie World and Ollie Ollie, and it's like you get that control scheme. I wish I was someone with that control scheme. Every time my mind just goes to Tony Hawk, it's like, why doesn't it play that Tony Hawk? But because I bought it, and I love the presentation, I love the colour scheme.
Yes.
The only thing knock that I can have against it, because my attunement to Tony Hawk's is like something that's completely me, something that's completely has nothing to do with this game. Where's the Tina Turner skin?
Oh no, we've said this before. Absolutely needs a Tina Turner skin. Yes,
that's my only knock against it.
Yep.
Otherwise, it'd be my number one. If Tina Turner was in, I couldn't even play it and couldn't shoot anybody. Like, can I play as Tina Turner? Yeah. Move over, Alton Chris.
I may talk about it momentarily, but the Roll 7's
Tina Turner.
No, yes, more Tina Turner. Roll 7's ability to just get and be able to put across the players a fluidity in motion.
Yes.
If you can grasp that control scheme.
It's just me.
I don't think it will just be
sick.
you. I don't think it will just be you. Tony Hawk is so ingrained.
It absolutely is, and it's
into
so hard
so
to
many
unlearn.
people. Yes, absolutely.
It's saddening because this game is like everything that I'd want. Tony Hawk with guns is like, yeah, give it to me.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame, but I that was on Game Maker's Toolkit. He said everyone has to play this game. I don't know why, but it's certainly got its merits. So it's a shame that I couldn't grasp it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have to crack the beer.
So you're gonna have another beer?
Yeah.
Perfect. Lucy, are you having another beer?
Yeah, I've still got my one there.
If we have time.
I'm going to drink this first.
Cool.
We don't have to deal, so we don't have to talk about it.
Yeah, I can just crack the beer.
Just something to suck on.
Fair.
If you're interested, it's St. Ives' Zennor Oatmeal Stout.
And mine is Pere Noel from Ranke.
And that's it, we're done.
Ranke. Yeah, done.
Nice. Good.
Sure, they
Glad
taste
beers.
great.
Perfect. You guys pour. We are back. So, I'd started and talked about Roller Drone, which was my number 3.
Mm-hmm.
So, Aadil, your number 3, please.
It's your number 5.
Oh, yes.
It's Vampire Survivors.
Which is my number 6.
It's interesting that such a small game has featured so highly in all of our, out of the plethora of games that we have played, how it's just hit with all of us.
Oh,
it was like COVID and just spread. Yeah. It's like I found out about it from someone else, and then I got you two onto the crack. We all shared the same needle.
Yes, exactly that.
Not advised, but we all got to it.
Aadil, why does it feature so highly on your list?
Garlic! That's why.
Oh man, garlic.
The
Garlic in
best
those books, mate.
ingredient.
Garlic in those
fucking
books.
Yes, it's great. It is great. It is like a fake idle game. That's what I like it. It pretends to be an idle game, and then you realize you have to play it, but not strenuously.
As someone who played Cookie Clicker, Earth's Cookie Clicker on their Playdate, and Universal paperclips on the tablet this year. Vampire Survivors is better than both those.
Oh, it scratches multiple. So, like, one of the reasons why Loop Hero is was an honorable mention, because it's a bit more idly, but also needs to be babysat. But not. There's large chunks of it. Like, you have to look at Loop Hero, but you don't have to do much. But it's a fake idle game in the fact that you can't really let it roll. Well, Vampire Survivors is kind of the opposite. It's like as soon as you start playing, you're like, oh, it's not really idle at all, but I don't have to do a lot. Except the meta game where it's like, what person am I picking? What am I gonna not pick up this power up because it will fuck with the build I'm looking for? And all I have to do, like, in the moment is kind of, well, hit my arrow keys.
Yep.
That's it.
Keep moving. Keep moving.
May I say, best Castlevania game of the decade, which isn't hard to do, sadly.
I was gonna say. For those of you who don't know, it's a wander about like.
As me and Aadil were talking either on or off air, it's like a twin stick shooter, but there's no movement or shooting. It's just that same kind of sense of satisfaction of just clearing the screen.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's like a single stick shooter.
Yeah.
Because you're moving. You're just the shooting is happening kind of by itself on autopilot.
And there's been a lot of these kinds of games prior to Vampire Survivors. And after Vampire Survivors, there'll be a lot that's copying it. Not copying it, but iterating and stuff like that. Vampire Survivors is not wholly original. It's just the one that got us all this year. You know, that had enough buzz about it. And I think, generally, because it had that kind of, like, Castlevania art set, which was just somebody just being like, yeah, I like Castlevania, and someone getting a free asset pack, just using that. And I think Konami are just... I mean, they're idiots anyway, but it's just like... I don't hate on companies just because they're not making a game. It's like, they're not beholden to me, they don't need to. Yeah. It's like, when you see so many things like this, and it's like, yes, they're doing Silent Hill, but where's Metal Gear and where's Castlevania? You're just sitting on money. I hate people who hate money. You know what I mean? I was talking about, like, you know, how capitalism is bad, but it's like how it benefits people for sometimes.
I mean, one of the problems
benefited me. You know, it's just like just make your money where you can.
One of the problems with modern capitalism is it's like bad. Like, it's a bad version of capitalism.
Yeah, it's a bad version of... If this doesn't make $1 billion... Oh,
no, it's not even that.
We're not going to endorse it.
There's so many, like, weird countervailing incentives to make money in the short run because the people making decisions just need to justify this year, this quarter. And infinite growth is impossible, so how do you do that? Well, you kind of, like, fudge the numbers as much as you can in a bounce, right?
Yeah, and, like, sack people and make more pachinko machines.
Yeah, which makes sense for that. I'm sure it made sense in that quarter, right? Like, I'm sure they got a bonus because people bought stock. But the stock market's a bad, like, measure. And
You're not wrong.
Anyway.
We've been very far away. Yes,
vampires are literally eternal. They never die.
Oh, I was going to say, capitalists are literal vampires, Ben. And we're surviving them.
If anyone wants to know, we talked about that. There was Vampire Survivor DLC. It came out a few days ago.
Yes. I bought it.
It's like £1.14 on Steam.
I bought
it. Buy it. Support the developers.
Like
£1.43. I'm going to buy it right now. Who knows when I'll actually use it because I just want them to have more money.
It's saying that's what I felt. It's like, here's more money. It's got like vampires and goblins in it. I don't know what's going on in any of that game. It's just like, and then when something weird happens, I was like, oh, is this the meta? And it's like, this is the meta happening. I'm like, cool. Do I get a new weapon? It's like, yes. You go, evolve it. I'm like, cool. And it starts over again.
Yeah.
Very good.
Perfect. Lucy. Number 3.
Signalis, which
Ooh,
is
another Game Pass game.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, where I played it. It's a top-down Resident Evil, Silent Hill-esque kind of survival horror game. It very much draws on the inspiration of those kinds of games. It's not completely 3D that you'd think. Early 3D with Silent Hill and Resident Evil. It's more top-down, isometric, but it absolutely wears its influences on its sleeves in that sense. With like limited inventory, limited ammo, limited everything really, limited sight lines, and just the way the game is structured. But there's been so many games in that vein, because I think what continually depresses me is that games will maybe, I don't think they will, but there's a chance that they'll stop emulating like games that I have much more of a fondness of, which is like pixel art and games that are like more 16-bit and 8-bit games. Those are the games that I hold close to my heart and that I'm very, nostalgic about. PlayStation, yes, I played those in those, it was revolutionary playing 3D games, but it's just something less, I don't know, there's something more cold about them. I don't know if it's just when the fact that I played games, fortunately, when 16-bit was around, and it's just like I've been early in that sense. But I think a lot of people are drawing on those inspirations more, and I think more and more it's going to fall out of favour. 10 years time, it's going to be 20 years time. They're probably going to be making Fortnite likes, and I'm going to be like crotchety old woman throwing cats at children on my porch or whatever. But yeah, me and Dorian just be like, at children outside. But it's just, you see so many, like, on Itch. Oh, bless him. He's a shaggy boy, like his daddy. But but it's just like so many games now are just like emulating that PS1 style, and and that still brings me like a bit of nostalgia, but not as much. And I think a lot of them are just like, very basic itch.io games, because obviously it takes probably a bit more fidelity. It's harder to emulate that style anyway.
Very much. You get a lot of these like this game demastered. They turn like Bloodborne into a PS1 style kind of game.
And it's just a much harder style to emulate because of just the technology that was going under the hood and that kind of esoteric knowledge and esoteric way of producing things and the lighting and the systems and the polygons. But Signalis just does something that is just completely emblematic of that era without being too beholden to that style at the same time.
Yeah.
But I think where Signalis really shines, because I think some people will... I guess your mileage may vary with the inventory system, the fact that the gameplay doesn't evolve so much beyond that. Okay, I'm shooting at an enemy. Pop, pop, pop. I need a shotgun. I need, 2 shells in my shotgun. I need, 3 rounds in my pistol or whatever. And that kind of inventory management that is very, like, 90s. Even though it gets rid of, like, a lot of the frustrations of those times. Like, you can play with the tank controls if you want to. Right. I did for, like, 10 seconds, and I was like, okay, I see what you're doing. This is cool, but I'm okay. I'd rather benefit from where we've progressed in 30 odd years, to be quite honest. Okay. But the way the game is packaged and portrayed and just presented has a very weird anime. It is anime. Yeah. But I say anime for higher inflection because it's good anime, which is rare. Yes. Because the whole game is very capitalist, futurism.
It's like
bad
Akira
things
anime
are going on
versus, standard TV anime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bad things in space, alien. Capitalism's gonna just sacrifice us all, which is very much a trend that I'm interested in, as you'll see in my number one. But it's very much it's packaged in a way where it's like you don't only just get these isometric viewpoints. It sometimes switches to like first person, and it does some weird things with its gameplay, with its structure. I think you'd very much like, Ben, on another game that you've played. I will not spoil, but it's weird, and it subverts like your expectations.
Mm-hmm.
It isn't like Resident Evil. Oh yeah, the bad guy had the T virus all along. Ha ha ha. Whatever. It's very much. It's weird. It's subversive. It's about. The central to it is like this robot lesbian romance, and it's like probably something that I would have no interest in if you just gave that to me on a menu. But it's like it's just so it's so good at what it does that the narrative where it shines is where it shines, and I think what complements it for me is the gameplay, where it's like I like those things. I like looking back at that era of gaming. I like Silent Hill. I've been playing through that this year, Silent Hill 2 specifically. And I love Dino Crisis and stuff like that. Yeah. I love that era of survival horror. And yeah, this just has just an incredible narrative. One of those that you have to look on Reddit and, discussion boards to even pass together, but you get the central thing of it, even if you don't understand the whole accoutrements and everything outside of it. It's just you get the central meaning of it, and it's quite emotional as well. It's like I never thought I'd say about lesbian robots. You know what I mean? It's an incredible game in terms of its atmosphere and presentation. I think it's flown under the radar. I think people should play it. More people should play it. It's game of the year. I consider it as like game of the year, like quality.
Ooh. Yeah.
Even though
there's just something that's even better and something else.
Ooh, interesting to see what the next two are then.
Yeah, I was gonna say when you're saying it's game of the year and then it's your number 3, I'm like, oh shit, mine was the idle game that you guys all rated lower. I think I had a worse gaming year.
I mean, Vampire Survivors is everyone's gaming.
I mean, it's
in their hearts. In their hearts.
Their hearts that don't beat because blood flow, etc.
Yes,
but thank you for indulging me on that.
No, I mean, I'm super
not at all
pumped about this game, more so than I was before, I think.
Absolutely.
It's only about, I think about 11 hours. And that's because I was being very, okay, I have to maximize this route. If people are just like, I don't care if I lose ammo. I had like 20 flipping shotgun rounds, and by the end of the game, it's like, I don't need that. I don't need that in any style.
But I don't know how to play games otherwise. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I don't use grenades because what if I would need a grenade? Like for this time where there's like 7 guys in front of me? Yeah, but what if there were 8 guys in the next room? You have 5 of them.
I had about 17 different saves because that's how I play survival horror games.
Oh, that's
but
funny.
If you're not sick like that, you'll be fine. You can do it in like 6.
Nice. Okay, fair. So we'll roll on to our number 2s, and it's a game that for me has no end. Ultimately, it's Ollie Ollie World. Again, my number 3 and my number 2, both from Roll7. They've had an absolutely fucking amazing year.
Yeah.
Ollie Ollie World. Again, we can talk about control schemes and those kinds of things, but for me, Rollerdrome built on the control scheme to take it to a slightly different perspective, whereas Ollie Ollie World has refined the control scheme of the previous Ollie Ollie games, taken it to a slightly different kind of art style, repackaged it, and presented it in a different way that makes it a little bit more accessible. So yes, it is a different control scheme, and it's a different understanding to Tony Hawk's or Skate or any of these other kinds of games that people might slightly associate with a 2D version.
You don't have to make the caveat
of this.
then. I'm just broken. Don't worry.
No, not at all. But there'll be loads of people like it, mate. There'll be loads of people. And I think Oli Oli World does really well in the beginning stages of acclimatizing people, of explaining what's going on, but not saying this is a sequel to a game you've already played. It's like, this is a new entry, right? You may never have played this game before. Come and join us. And the DLC packs build on that. They add new mechanics. It feels fresh. The aesthetic, the soundtrack, everything really hit with me with Oli Oli World. And I think it's just such a well packaged, really well made game. And it's something that I had gone back to a little. And I was doing dailies. I was doing the kind of you against 9 other people, or maybe it's 12 people. You against 11 other people. Here's a route. Do it as well as you can. Yeah, this is how you stacked up against other people. I was hitting those and doing that and enjoying doing those kinds of things. So then the DLC comes out. And you're like, yes, there's more to explore. There's a little bit more kind of this wacky kind of very much side narrative. It's not about the narrative. That just pulls you through the different levels,
right,
and showing you the different mechanics. So you get to the end of that game and you feel like a master. Even though you might not have mastered everything, you feel really good about your progress through that game, and that's the way that it is paced. It's not about how good you are. You could feel that you're rubbish at something like this, but it holds your hand so well and paces it so well. You get to the end of the game and you have such a good satisfaction. Such a good level of satisfaction at just being like, yes, I have nailed this. I have done such a good run.
That's the whole point of any good arcade game. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Like, trashed it at the end. You're just like, alright, let's go again.
Yeah,
alright, I can
completely.
do better. Alright, yeah. Yeah.
I think that's a bit of a difference between Oli Oli World and Rollerdrome. Is Oli Oli World feels a little bit more arcade, and it very much feels like, great, I feel like I've done really well. Do it again.
Right.
Great, I feel like I've done really well. Do it again. Rollerdrome has that still with the leaderboards and things, but you do a run, and Rollerdrome is so intense that you'll go, oh, I just need a break. I will go again, but like tomorrow.
Tina Turner shouting at me. I don't know why. But yeah, that definitely seems like it was following you through a narrative more so than like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. Let's score chase. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what Neon White is. You know, just high adrenaline, and it's. Yeah, I can imagine if I can transplant my feelings in Neon White into a control scheme like Oli Oli World, I'm completely with you on that, and I can see why it's number 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just broken.
No,
I don't know what to do. I've been broken for like 20 years.
Haven't we all, Lucy?
Ain't that
so yes, for me, Roll 7 have had a fantastic year. I really look forward to whatever comes next from them. Yeah. I can see them dropping Oli Oli now that Oli Oli World has come out, because there is that perpetual multiplayer, that online space for that game, and see them doing more things like Rollerdrome. They break out, they keep a similar kind of scheme and break out into something different kind of narrative, different kind of game that they've produced.
They make another platformer like Not a Hero.
You can see a lot of Not a Hero in Rollerdrome.
Yeah.
The way that it kind of plays, the shooting mechanics and that kind of stuff. You can see it's so good. Like Rollerdrome is so good in seeing.
Almost. Yeah.
Man. Broforce is fucking amazing. You can see in Rollerdrome that progression through their games as well. You can see where they've taken inspiration from various different games that they have worked on. And I think Oli Oli World is kind of this is, they would sit there and go, this is our best game. This is is us at our absolute highest level. And Rollerdrome is us going, we're taking that energy and we're going to try something different.
I love that pivot. Release 2 games in 1 year is a feat, especially for like a small developer. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Long may they continue.
Yeah. Completely. Aadil. Rolling around in the circle. Number 2.
It's the one Lucy talked about that has a purple and green.
Yes.
Purple and green.
I love the
Hulk.
soundtrack. I love the soundtrack.
It's Teenage
I
Mutant
love
Ninja
this.
Turtles Shredder's Revenge.
Mhm.
Not to be confused with
This
the
didn't make
Cowabunga
it for me.
collection.
Yeah, this didn't make it for me. I think it's because it was like up there for such a long time. But I think Pentiment and the Golden Lion.
I mean, to be
Picked
honest,
it.
like the other games you've mentioned are ones that like I'm pretty sure are directly up my jam. I just haven't had the time.
No, it was absolutely up there for me. It's such.
It's like the
I'm
quintessential
regretting
Turtles
it
game.
now. Like it's just one of those where it's like, should I just? It's like it doesn't really matter, but it's like that would have probably been my 11 because it's just nostalgia in a bucket.
But
you know?
but what I really liked about it, and what actually because I streamed the Cowabunga collection, it really like hammered home just how much they understood the nostalgia and fixed all the annoying shit from our youth in a way that
you've got
it
even
didn't feel
better
like it.
perspective on it because you've played the Cowbank.
Yeah.
I didn't buy it because I thought it was a bit expensive. But
I
I'll
mean,
buy it eventually.
you'll notice that
yeah,
to make even my honorable mentions. It's fine if you like those things and are interested in like the bits and bobs that like some of the like not even unlockables, just the art assets and some of the stuff was really cool, but like ultimately I'm not going to play these games, right?
Was it Digital Eclipse as well?
Yeah.
Because they do really good things with their remasters.
Yeah.
Like incredible things. Where you can just like hop into a game wherever it is and insane like preservation.
And they even give a technique, like when you pause the game, it'll give you the techniques that you would have may never have known when you played it. Like in just like little pictures and like do this when aerial attacks and stuff. Really cool, but ultimately what I want is not to play those games that I just had no choice but to play, even though I sucked at them when I was 6 through 12 or whatever. But like, I want the feeling of playing those games, and that's exactly what Shredder's Revenge did. It made me feel like I was playing those games, and then when I actually played those games, I'm like, oh, no, that game is so much better.
Yeah, it is.
It's
like,
so good, and I'm like, I still haven't played it with anyone else, and I know it's gonna be fucking great. And so it's number 2 because I had such good time. It hit the nostalgia exactly the way I thought, and then when I played the actual nostalgia game, I was like, oh. The reason why the nostalgia hit was because you guys know what the fuck you're doing, and you've made it better in a way that is still true to what I'm looking for, which is no small feat.
No, it isn't, because like when I was up in Bristol with you, like you were playing that on the arcade machine, I was like, played it so many times. Like, I don't care.
And we did not last long.
But playing like Shredder's Revenge, it's like, you get all those feelings of playing the old arcade game, none of the frustration, and it's just so much more fluid in like this sort of the movement, it's easy, I'll say that, but
yes, but that's so much part of it, right?
Yeah, that's part of it. That like Monkey Island, it's much easier than it used to be, but it's I wouldn't say Monkey Island is more fun in that way.
Well, I was saying, the problem with Monkey Island being more easier is that it's a puzzly game at its heart, versus a button mashing smack 'em about is a lot better.
This was a quarter eater, whereas just to play something, whereas Monkey Island wasn't. It was just like arbitrarily hard. You bought the disc.
Yeah,
it's fine. It should be solvable, but it isn't. Anyway, but teenage what is it? Shredder's Revenge.
Yeah.
It's just so much more fluid, more forgiving, more with the accessibility features, that is. And it's just like, this is. It makes you feel like you were playing that in the 90s, and it's so colourful and it's so faithful to the originals, and I just love like how everything's just like when you're going around the overworld, it plays a remix of the. Just like a really goofy, stupid remix with like a car horn in it.
Oh.
like the theme, and it's just,
Yeah.
it's so good. You know what I mean? And just, any game that is like I cannot skip the opening sequence of, such as
exactly.
Elden Ring. But Elden Ring was like on, what's it called on Xbox? Like no close, it doesn't close or whatever. Quick resume or whatever.
Oh.
Or like games that I just can't get past the starting screen.
Right.
Like Skyrim or Mafia 3, because the only time in that game that they had Jimi Hendrix was literally on the start screen and at the end of the game.
That's really funny.
nowhere on the radios or whatever. But it's like impossible to get past that start screen.
Right.
Yeah, Shredder's Revenge is that. It's just so good.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that game.
Solid game.
Nice. Good.
It's my number 11. Let's say that.
What's your number 2, Lucy?
Yes.
We'll talk about your number 1, Aadil.
What? Oh, I see. Yeah, that's fair.
So we're skipping Lucy's number 2 because we may come back to it momentarily. And I think we'll roll then into my number 1, into all of our number 1s. Lucy got it right earlier. There's Robot Dinosaurs involved. It's the game
2017 crew.
Wait,
Absolutely,
have you finally played the PC game Beast Wars?
What? It's PC game Beast Wars?
I thought there was.
I mean, there might be.
If there is, I know I'm downloading tonight. Whatever software I need.
Beast Wars Transformers. Yeah, I was right. Third-person game, 1997, PlayStation and Windows. I definitely bought that game in 1997.
What year? Oh, this
Sorry,
might be
97
right,
PlayStation, 98 Windows.
It's like Lego Rock Raiders, what we were talking about before, which had a PC release that was like a strategy game, and a PlayStation release that was just like you're just running around.
No, so this is the same. This was actually the same game.
Oh, okay.
It's just the portable.
Eh?
Sorry,
it's not on Steam.
That sounds all right.
Might be on Good Old Game. Maybe find it on Good Old
We'll
Game.
talk about it later. Sorry,
yeah, absolutely.
What are you talking about?
So,
you stupid dinosaur game?
Yeah, number one for me is Horizon Forbidden West. I spent a fucking lot of time playing that game.
It seems good.
And very much enjoying it. But the only caveat is that it is more of Horizon Zero Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
It's a game, I think, which builds on the first, enhances a few of the elements like the combat, choosing different weapons, those kinds of things. It opens up the RPG elements a little bit more. And not that I needed that, and not that I delved into that too much.
Yeah.
But from a narrative, it's interesting. It pulls you through. But it is the world. And I would imagine we're going to talk about this in a moment. It's the world that really shines. That is the thing that is the interesting part. And I think Horizon is in a good position that it can go anywhere in that time frame within the world and continue to tell interesting stories. And which I think which is PS5 only, I think.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, so I'm going to miss out on that one unless
There's
I
no
upgrade
reason
at some point.
There's no reason for that. Like, honestly, come on.
Well, unless it's doing something
very
very fucking different, which the PS4 would just break
engine.
for.
It's like...
I mean, it's you've played Horizon. Do you want more? Buy the PS5.
I will have to see the absolute Digital Foundry breakdown why it couldn't run on.
Sure, yeah.
Because PS4 is like a fucking beast of hardware. Like,
I mean, I played Horizon.
God of War. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, and I played Horizon Forbidden West on PS4, and it worked very, very well.
Incredible.
I can't think of any moments where I had slowdown or clipping or poor textures or anything like that. It just played incredibly well.
The last game I played on there was like Last of Us, and it's like, where's the... I know Naughty Dog are like cream of the crop, but it's like Horizon, like Guerrilla are like first party. It's like, where's the compromise? There isn't any.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Should be every reason why it should matter, man. That sucks.
Yeah, and I think again, Horizon did a few things. Forbidden West, sorry, did a few things in the kind of riding the dinosaurs. So suddenly you're flying around on a fucking robot dinosaur, experiencing the world, and it's that idea that
it's something that I've avoided coverage of, but I could have predicted it. It's like, of course you're gonna fly a pterodactyl.
Absolutely.
Of course you are.
Yeah,
and it's flipping dinosaur game.
And it's like the other games that are in my top 3. That kind of fluid motion works really well with some of that, with the exploration, with the open world elements, with being able to traverse across it. Riding a pterodactyl through the skies comes quite late, and it's always something that I will always go back to, like World of Warcraft, right?
Mm-hmm.
When that game released, the fast travel system through that game was riding something faction dependent through the sky, and it was an on rails experience that you got to, and they reworked that game in a later expansion to allow flyable mounts.
Yeah,
and there was all of these areas where everyone's like, I've flown over this inaccessible area hundreds of times on this fast travel route. I now must go there just to see just to land and just walk around. And they, they made a thing of it. They put a few extra little bits in some of these areas because it's that Easter eggy type thing.
Early WoW was great because there were exploits they hadn't patched, and
absolutely.
In
IT hacky era.
Yeah. So on the top of Stormwind is now a fucking functional area that was like, in the beginning of the game, was just partially developed and abandoned for years. But the route up to it was blocked by, a ledge that you couldn't jump over. But early days, if you used the Gnome telescope, you could build, as an engineer, you could build telescopes and give to people. And it would zoom in. But if you jumped, right when you zoomed in, you would zoom in at that height, and when you disengaged, you would be floating. Oh. If you could do that 2 times in a row, and then jump, you would get over the barriers they set up in the game, which included certain dungeons, like in Stormwind there was a dungeon... You were
that guy! You were that guy in South Park, killing everybody.
So, in Stormwind there was a dungeon that had 2 exits, and if you could time it right, you could go in the end exit and then go just kill the last boss and skip most of the dungeon with the same trick. But in whatever the gnome place, it wasn't Stormwind, it was the other place, the place with the auction house that has the extra area on the top. We're talking first 6 months of WoW. If you did that trick, you could then just wander up into this desolate landscape of half-made assets. It was the coolest thing. It's one of the reasons I really like early live games, because if you can figure it out, you get to see stuff you're not supposed to that they have not finished.
I'm so grateful I was not born in this era.
Whereas born, fucking hell.
I was born.
Yeah, you absolutely were.
Not old enough to buy my own computer.
But that's one of the areas people talked about when the Flying Mounts came out, and they had to fix it up because people could go there now. And so when I went, one of my returns was post Flying Mountain. I went there. I'm like, oh wow, this place looks way better.
My early PC adventures at that point was The Sims. So. And that's all. And I know what that did to me.
Make your own adventure.
And that was enough. That addiction was enough.
Anyway.
So, it leads on to one of the other reasons that Horizon is my top game this year.
I've completely lost track of what you were saying.
Is that
the world, the man.
It is the world. It's the world. It's the idea that every single part of this world has been thought about. Right. It is, of course, you can fly there. Yes, you can. It's not until sort of towards the last third of the game that you can fly there. But we're thinking about it constantly. We've got to make sure that it's all sorted. We've got to make sure that everywhere is accessible. That if you're flying a dinosaur, you're riding a dinosaur, that you can get to those places. We've got to think about the pathing of these dinosaurs. The one thing I would have, and it's made so fucking well. Like the entire world has been so combed over.
Interesting.
the one thing that I really wanted from this game was like a living ecosystem, and I think
Like
you know,
Zelda.
it's like there's like 3 dinosaurs and they just hang out here, and this is where those 3 dinosaurs live, and you kill them and you come back 20 minutes later and there's 3 more dinosaurs here.
You want Jurassic Park Evolution the game?
Well, so I wanted the idea, you know, the idea that the cauldrons are pumping out dinosaurs constantly. But, you know, it would be great if that existed, and maybe that's something that it's too far advanced for what we're talking about now. You know, the idea of like kind of like living systems and those kinds of things. And it might be something that evolves and is in the MMO that they're developing, that is in the 3rd game that they're also developing. But the idea that you could be like, cool, I've killed all of these dinosaurs. This cauldron must be working in overdrive now to pump them out. I'm just going to go and sit on a cliff above it, and I can see that it's just churning dinosaurs out, and they're all scattering off in different directions.
To expect that. Like, it's PlayStation 5. Obviously, this was made of. I think we're very much in a, transitional era.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
It's very much made on the PlayStation 4 engine, but it's like we're probably. I'm not expecting more fidelity from the PlayStation 5 and Xbox for whatever it is. I'm expecting systems.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, very much.
Stuff like that. Fidelity means nothing to me at this point. It's like, I'll play something that's pixel art or something else like Signalis. Let's get something like that. And I think where I didn't pick up Horizon Forbidden West, not only because something like Elden Ring came out and that probably sucked out all the oxygen, probably, you know, rightly so, but also Horizon sold a hell of a lot, and it seems like everyone that I've heard, especially you, Ben, it's a brilliant game, and one I very much look forward to playing, but it didn't seem like it moved the needle in that sense, whereas something like Elden Ring moved the needle. It's like, this is something wholly distant, you know, distance from what we used to do. Horizon seemed like it tripped over all the hurdles that it did in the first game, which you can excuse from the first game, like, you know, maybe some of the story and some of the way the tribes interact with each other, and some of, as you say, some of that environment doesn't exactly mesh with each other, and that's what I fear from like the PlayStation 5 this generation. Is it just going to be a sequel machine? Because that's not interesting at all. God of War 2. I mean, probably this. It's going to probably last for like another 6 years, so they'll probably come out with some new things. But it's like, is it going to be that Samurai game 2? Is it going to be God of War 2? Is it going to be Horizon 2? Is it going to be Spider-Man 2? Which is like, I think.
Which it is going to be.
Yeah, but if anyone should be averse to risk, it should be the smaller publishers. It shouldn't be one of the biggest publishers in the game.
Yeah,
let's circle back to our nonsense about capitalism, right?
Yeah, but, well, I mean, you've got games like Returnal and a few other things that are...
But they're so much smaller scale, and that's from, like, a publisher that was going to give up.
Yeah.
Like 2 years ago. It's disappointing, and it's scary where we are.
Yeah, that's true.
And I don't want to harp on Xbox and Game Pass because they're not doing good anyway. I think a lot of people had a bitch about Xbox were not at the Game Awards, and I was like, I didn't even notice because I didn't even care, because their whole model is Game Pass now.
Yep.
I want games like Pentiment, but people want games like, I don't know, Halo 17 or whatever. It's just like,
yeah.
But are they going to put out games that are just like sequel after sequel? It's just not interesting anymore. It's not. And I will play the Robot Dinosaur game because that is my life. That's what I've been building up to. That's the game.
And it's interesting that you say that, because everyone was disappointed that we didn't get like John Halo DLC straight away after the way that like Infinite finished.
I mean, I think that whole studio's been exhausted and a mess. And like, I don't play Halo multiplayer. They probably need to just go on a desert island somewhere and just take a 6-year break.
Just do something different. Just let them do something
different.
You know
what I mean? Yeah. I mean, alright, have your core studios doing the same crap every year. But like, holy Jesus. I can't have a sequel of everything every year. Make
Absolutely,
something different. I think maybe Game Pass has that kind of like just a bit extra budget to push out to these, you know, like a Grounded or something like that, or a Pentiment.
Yeah.
But if Sony doesn't even have it for, I mean, they have it for a, you know, what Returnal. Hopefully they keep doing that. But I don't know. Maybe it's because I just haven't seen what they're.
And it's
bringing
like
out.
it's odd stuff, isn't it? Like last gen, like Concrete Genie and things like that from PlayStation, which was
that's
completely
what you
kind
want,
of
yeah.
Yes, it was like third person, and it was built on similar kinds of systems, but it's a different kind of game, different kind of narrative. You want those smaller experiences.
I just hope that
to
all
come
of
out.
the developers push that out. I mean, Nintendo are probably the worst though.
Let's
I don't
talk
need
about
a
something.
17th Fire Emblem game. Flip me.
Yeah, you do, Lucy. Of course you do.
I don't. God,
Fire,
no.
you?
Fire
I have
Emblem.
to talk about it with Francis tomorrow, probably.
Yeah.
I don't know what number pillars of.
They're up to like Fire Emblem 12
Emblem.
flats or something like that,
Yeah.
aren't they?
God bless you, Francis, but I don't want to talk about anything.
Let's talk about then.
Let's talk about another JRPG.
I'm gonna assume is Aadil's number one, a game which is like a sequel, but isn't, and does do something different. And does go.
Is it like a sequel?
It's a
Yeah,
JRPG.
well, exactly.
It's not a JRPG.
No, it's
It's
very
an
much
RPG.
a Western RPG.
It's a very capital W RPG.
It's Western.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's
It's a
made by
role-playing
Japanese
game.
studio.
It's a WRPG.
But it's very much made by like a Japanese studio.
What's your number one, Aadil?
It's Elden Ring.
Is
Elden
that the
Ring.
one made by the guy who?
Dan Rang.
Stole all those
It's that
ideas from
that
Tolkien.
Hispanic guy Elden Rang.
Isn't it by the guy Bill Clinton's mate?
Okay, enough. Slightly maybe racist slash
No,
questionably
No.
linguistic.
he's just an idiot. He's not
No,
racist.
the fucking.
Which is
the-
probably even worse.
It's Elden Ring. I didn't get back to it in the fall like I planned, but it doesn't matter. I put hours into multiple different characters. I love the world. I love what it's done. I've tried.
It's Bill Clinton's favorite.
Yeah, it's fair.
Sorry.
No, enjoy. Have the
You
moment.
shouldn't have brought that up. It feels like gross. That's funny, but it is.
It's
Yeah,
great,
okay, like-
is what I'm trying to say.
Yes, it is.
It's
It
great
is,
in
it is.
multiple ways. It solved the problem I had with these games, which was the linearity and the difficulty meant that you could get kind of stuck. And the fact that you can just wander away, and if you wanted to, grind in a way that like isn't grinding because you're just exploring and accidentally getting better is so key.
Yes, thank you.
And
yes.
the way the map worked really caught me, because if you paid attention, you would know where to go, because whoever drew the map was consistent with like how tunnels or things would show up, even if they weren't the icons. And so you could kind of be like, I'm going to put an icon there, and I'm just going to go there and see, and you'd usually be rewarded. But also there was enough like meat to the game that you could just ignore that and still stumble upon things, or just fuck the map, like just wander about and get to know the feel of the land yourself. And like there are enemies in these more optional dungeons that are like iterations on enemy types you've seen, like the fucking stone dogs, which got progressively harder by either having different moves.
God, those scared. The one with that knife and just nightmares.
Yeah, and the thing is, like,
Genuinely,
you
nightmares.
knew their like jumping pattern, but their weapons would change, or there'd be multiple of them, or they'd come with other fucking stone dog little minions that meant that you'd have to like figure out how to do that, or come back where you could like take a couple hits from the little dogs and just focus kill the big guy if you just like were more of a tanky character. Like there's so much there, and like I played the game without a shield because I could.
Well,
Fuck learning how to block.
I played the game without knowing you could run. So.
Exactly. And like
Boom.
the play styles were so different, and like I played a kind of a hybrid mage type as my main, and then I went to dual wielding quick swords.
It's a proper RPG.
Yeah.
It's what I disliked about something like The Witcher, where it's like you just roll and slash. There's nothing different. I'm sorry for all you, which Adam Thomas is like raising. He's not dead,
Lauren's
but
gonna
raising from
kill
his.
you.
Yes, Ben's probably like, just cut it here. But it's just like something that genuinely changes your build set and your different character. And I think like something where you have a central character where it's like Witcher may have more limited aspects, maybe just slightly limited. Maybe I'm not playing the game right. But something like Elden Ring,
yeah,
there's so much variety to
I'd
play
argue,
style. Mm-hmm.
I would argue that
Which
Witcher 3
absolutely,
isn't an RPG; it's an action game.
I don't. I'd say it's a narrative
100%
game.
believe that.
It's a narrative action. It's a narrative action game. Well,
I'd say it's a
game.
visual novel, and that's the only good thing about it. Like the stories, because it's got incredible stories.
It has the writing. The writing in The Witcher 3 is fucking
incredible.
fantastic.
Yeah, and I wish I saw that. I mean, there's no way of seeing it all, but even though Elden Ring doesn't evolve amongst well, I've learnt this from like Waypoint. It's verbs in the sense of you can only just slash and roll.
Oh yeah.
Even though it doesn't evolve amongst that, it has so much difference in
it's got
the kind
breadth.
of builds that you have. Yes, and it has that breadth, and it's like, how vast is this world? And I don't think like how big your world is definitive of how good the game is. Assassin's Creed has proved that for 10 years.
Yeah.
It's like the game is just not interesting. I haven't played the last few, so I hold my hands up high, but it's like you don't know where it's going to it's not going to advance in like the central core mechanics. Elden Ring, like you're just going to slash and roll and that's it. But in terms of like what is going to F you up next?
Yeah, exactly.
It's always going to evolve.
That's actually
there's always going to be something around the corner. The point where it's like, I didn't put it as my number one because I've been switching around my number one and my number two for a whole year, and it's like, this absolutely could have been my number one. And ask me in 5 years' time, 2 years' time, 3 months, it will be. But it's like, the time that I went into that castle, and there's this bird that's just like
fucking bird. I know
with
exactly what bird you're talking
sticks, with kebab skewers on its legs, just coming round the corner and just stabbing me to death. And not only that, and I'm just like, and go back to the next bonfire or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And then not only that, it's like I go further up into the castle, and those bloody birds are there with their kebab skewers, and they're carrying gunpowder barrels and just throwing that at me, and then stabbing me, skewing me like a kebab. I'm just like, you won. You won, game. You hate me. You're just saying F me. It's like it's not like any other game that I've played. I haven't played any Souls game, but it's just like it's a middle finger to the player, and it's like, can you overcome this? Can you beat this? Can you anticipate this? And it's like, no, I can't. But it's like, yes, just it's dominatrix the game, and I think everyone has it. It's like a sexual awakening,
right? But I think the key is that this isn't like, so like the other Souls games are like, you know, you got the card from a friend of a friend, and you know this dom is in town, and you had to go to a back alley, and like what they're giving you is all you got. And now it's like, oh, what if we progress sexually, and now there's a sex club, and you can be like, these are the things I want to do or be done to me, and some of these other things maybe not, and you get to like avoid them because you aren't in this really
you're not Tom Cruise.
Yeah,
you're not just caught unawares. You're more like, okay, you're Tom Cruise on his third visit.
Yeah, exactly.
Where it's like, I'm okay with this. Do it, and it's just like, yeah, that's a good.
You're Nicole Kidman. You've heard about it.
Yeah,
you know what's you sort of know what's going on. It's interesting because I'm like, I suppose
it is, isn't
it? I've played like Demon Souls, Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, Bloodborne. It's only like Dark Souls 3 that I haven't played, and Elden Ring has been the one game that I'm like, yeah, I don't need to worry about that.
Really?
It seems so big. It seems so massive, and
Yeah,
also
but
it
you
had.
played Assassin's Creed Origins, then. So.
I mean, Origins is a great game. I haven't played
Elden Ring's
Odyssey.
better.
Yeah.
Valhalla's not very good, but it was so. One of the big things that kept me away from Elden Ring was that when it released, the PC version wasn't great, and
The performance is a really big issue.
Yeah,
It
and
is,
the PS4 version was the worst
worse.
version you could possibly play. So I'm like, well, that's the two things I've got. Let's not worry about it.
Right.
And I've just continued to not worry about it.
I mean, that's fair.
But from both of your comments, whether it was towards the beginning of the year and now, it is a game that I would love to even just dabble in a little bit, just to play even a few hours. Just get a good 6 hours
when
in,
it goes on
just to
sale,
experience
just,
that world. I don't need
yeah.
to. It's one of those. I don't think I need to play it for 40 hours or 100 hours. Well, yeah, potentially.
I just say that because the world is so good that that's what kept me coming back, right?
Yeah, I probably played about 100 hours.
Wow.
I'm nowhere near finishing.
Mm.
It's not one of those you need to play. Me and Aadil, as we've talked probably off air and on podcasts that you weren't a part of then for whatever reason, that it's probably something that will never complete. Yes, because we hate. It's probably something that will never complete, but the majesty and the scope. It's something that I'd show like Horizon Zero Dawn 2017. I'd show my 8-year-old self. It's like, this is what games can be.
Yeah.
It's just insane in terms of scale and how many times it surprises you.
Yeah.
You don't ever need to finish it. Like, I didn't do everything in Horizon Zero Dawn, but it's still something that if I had a time machine, I'd be like, Lucy, this game's made for you. Has robots and dinosaurs. You know what I mean? But Elden Ring does that, and I think even Breath of the Wild, that wasn't even on my top 10 that year. The way the systems and world interacts with itself, as you said that Ben, you wanted Horizon 2 to do.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of discovery and intrigue. You just don't get that, and I think me and Ben, you could go into that game not knowing a thing. You don't need to know a thing about Elden Ring. There's still things that I will discover, or never discover, that will still be amazing 10 years time. Just like this weird effed up monster and where it takes you and stuff like. It's nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah.
It's like, Aadil, did you ever get to a place where something just swallowed you and just took you to another place?
Yes, multiple times.
Yeah, it's just like, it could be an enemy, it could be a chest, it could be this, it could be that, and just all the revelations that you get in that game. It's a scale that I've never seen before.
And much like people talked about Breath of the Wild being feeling like a more dynamic world than open worlds are, Breath of the Wild kind of feels stagnant and bereft in a way when compared to Elden Ring.
It doesn't have the character, because in every time that I've seen a From Software game that I know, I've been jealous of people who enjoy those games, because all I've ever said is just give me an art book of all those enemy designs, because they're nuts. But Ben, you've played Bloodborne, it's just some of the most excellent, interesting enemy design, and I'm jealous of people who like that kind of more linear thing. But as Aadil said, you can progress without even knowing it, just exploring the world.
Yeah.
Just give me an art book of every single From Software game, and it's
Elden Ring is that a little bit different. I enjoy the passion that both of you have given it, but especially from Lucy, considering you still have a number one game.
I was about to say.
Yeah. As I said, I think Elden Ring is a game that I'd show my 6-year-old self. Look what games can be. They're so big, so expansive, and look what things can have. But the game that is just, I went back and forth so many times. But the game that I probably thought about I mean, I've definitely thought about it more than Elden Ring. Elden Ring, I've always like I should go back to that. But in terms of like a narrative sense, I've always thought about Citizen Sleeper.
Right.
Every couple of days, you know what I mean? It's one of those that are just like a Norco, like a Kentucky Route Zero, and I'd say it's probably more Kentucky Route Zero than the latter because it doesn't have that sense of levity. I guess there's some twangs of humour in its writing, but it is very much capitalist space. What is it? What's the company in called? Newtown?
Wayland.
Yes. Yeah. That we've just forsaken these humans, haven't we? But everything's in space, and you're playing as a sort of an automaton who's kind of had a human. Well, not a human. I guess it's like everyone's bred to be a worker in this kind of economy, whether it's on space or on Earth or whatever. And it's just like, okay, you're very much we're transplanting a human like mind and personality on this kind of like blank robot, and you're just, instead of living a life on Earth just being a slave, you're basically smuggled to this outwardly space station. And the gameplay is it's dice based. Actually, maybe go back and play Tharsis if anyone's played that. But this is much more forgiving in terms of that, but in much more narrative driven. But it's like, okay, you're rolling die or dice in the chance of like, okay, what's assigned to these numerical numbers on the pips on these dice is basically how many actions you can perform throughout the day. Like, okay, I rolled Snake Eyes, I'm not going to be able to do much. That's 2. If I roll, 3 6s, I'm going to be able to do a lot. I'm going to be able to go see my friend that I've made on this space station. I'm going to be able to perform this job and make some money. But the crux of it is that you always have this thing where, because you're like this robot that's had a personality imprinted on it, you need to keep yourself healthy, which is like basically injecting insulin every day.
Right.
And like to earn them enough money to earn insulin, you need to roll enough dice, or you need to perform enough tasks that day to earn money and stuff like that. But it's sort of like, fortunately in the UK, we don't have to pay for our medication, essential medication, that much. But in something like somewhere like America, where I think the developer is based, what's his name? Damien. I think his first name is Damien. But it's just like this whole earning the gig economy just to stay alive, and it's portrayed in a very futuristic kind of sense. But it's like it's very much these, a lot of people's daily lives, and even though I have a very much privileged life in the UK, it hit home, and it's very. It was kind of a depressing game, but it's unlike Kentucky Route Zero. It's very uplifting. Like the endings in this game, because you're on this kind of spaceship and you can decide what your future is there as this alien who's basically an illegal immigrant who's just landed there, and you can earn your way into a bit more success, into comfortable housing, into having a job, or you want to leave for a better life because there's a spaceship going to another planet and potentially there's life there, you just don't even know. But it's just it kind of runs out of runway in that sense when you start to earn more money, and it's just like, okay, I'm on a Monopoly board and I've wiped out everybody else. I have hotels on every corner,
right?
And it's like I'm cool, but even so, it's just like it sort of has these narrative arcs with so many different characters who are brilliantly portrayed, like in the art, like such diversity in like characters and their art and stuff. Like the art is incredible, but every single ending that you choose, because I think there's about 6 or 7 different paths that you can choose. Every single one of them is rewarding, and it doesn't feel like you're punished for like the decision you chose at all. It seems like, because it gives you like, do you want to do this? A very clear, do you want to do this? Or do you want to like pull out of this? Do you want to be just like part of the machine and like part of the matrix and just be in terms of, you know, going to this ethereal life and just forget your body that you were unfortunately assigned because you were a slave elsewhere and you're just like an automaton now with a different personality traced on it. It's like, I could do that. Or I could just be like, no, I've just accepted this and all the bad things that come with it. And it's like, every single ending is just... It made me cry several different times.
Wow.
But on several different endings, and no other game has done that. It's like, whatever decision I chose, it's just like, yeah, you could do that, and it would give me a perfectly, beautifully written, like, ending. Or I could just, like, back out from it and choose a different ending, and it would still give me a perfectly satisfactory and yet beautifully written ending otherwise. And it's just incredible. It's incredible writing. And the gameplay is like, okay, you're just rolling dice and it's just, you know, luck-based sometimes, but that genuinely, like, matters to the story and the and what it's trying to portray. I think that's where it probably betters it over Norco, and why I chose it over Norco, because Norco is just simply guided by the experience, guided by the writing. Whereas this is like a bit more choice, but you don't regret any of those choices. And yeah, I think this game will mean more to me in the future. Try not to cry, than it will like Elden Ring.
Right.
Looking
that makes a
backwards
lot
and
of sense.
thinking, this is what I could have done with like 20 years ago, and thinking what a game are. Sorry.
No, mate.
Great.
Go for it.
That makes me definitely need to play it.
Absolutely. And it's insane that it elicits like that level of emotion. Even like when you're playing it, you can like you get that. There's not many things, film, books, or otherwise, which you think like, you know, a month out of playing it, 2 years out of playing it, there are some things that absolutely hit, and
this absolutely did.
It's insane. It feels like it's insane that comes from a game. That, you know, it's not like that's something that's almost like exclusive to novels. Of people being like, this is this is the thing that's absolutely changed my kind of, you know, I was 16 and I read X, and it just changed the way that I think about things, and it's stuck with me since. There may be a handful of films that have done that for some people as well. And we talk about games in a way where we're like, this mechanic was great and it's going to push us on to better things. We talk about, the three of us, we talk about lots of narrative in games, but very much in a, that was cool. This is very good and it's excellent writing. But even us who look for those narratives rarely get to a point where we go, this is really fucking hit. You know, there's a couple of things like Florence and stuff like that, which, you know, really have done that. And it's to have something like Citizen Sleeper, I think, is absolutely insane. That it's hit you so much as well.
Yeah. Kentucky Route Zero should have hit me this hard, you know what I mean? Like, it's something that I grew with. Like something I didn't understand when it first came out. I was like, what the hell is this? This is not a point-and-click adventure game. This is just like walking through scenes. But like, I'm so glad I played that through before the pandemic. Otherwise, it would have broken me.
Yes,
I mean?
yeah.
It's like, so Yeah, I remember like Red Dead. I mean, Red Dead hit hard and stuff like Red Dead 2 and stuff like that. It's just like, yeah, sitting to sleep, it was just like, you know, Elden Ring didn't make me cry. It made me cry. Like, I was like, why is this thing still
in a very
killing
different
me?
way. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, frustration cries are definitely more the FromSoft way.
Yeah, but thank you, Ben, thank you, Aadil. It's a great game. The guy who made it, I think he did most of the writing, most of the programming, maybe not the art, but it was the same guy who did In Other Waters, which I really liked the other year, which was just completely a narrative game. Didn't really have any visuals or not many mechanics, so yeah, he's just on and up and up trajectory. But
absolutely. So I did quickly scroll through the store page and jump over the age, who's the developer.
Yeah.
The description is it's a one-person game development studio founded by Gareth Damien Martin.
Yeah,
and then
I
the
knew there was a
game,
Damien in
yeah,
there.
the game was then developed along with Guillaume Singlin, who did character art, and Amos Rhodey, who did music and sound.
Character art is incredible.
So,
and the sound, like the soundtrack, is just it's very sad. So maybe every time I hear that, it just triggers me. It's just like, okay,
potentially,
maybe.
Yeah.
That's fine.
In a great way. Sometimes we need that. Sometimes we need that we need that release. Not to get too into that, we absolutely need that release. I was wrapping Christmas presents last night, and again, I don't know whether I shared this on the podcast, whether it's just been between the three of us. With my dad dying a couple of weeks ago, I was wrapping Christmas presents last night, and I just fucking went. It's those moments, isn't it, that you can then just relate back to, which just absolutely hit you. So to get that from a game is so fucking special.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's where my game of the years, other than Inscription, was just batshit crazy.
Yes.
Where a lot of game of the years have just taken me. It's like Elden Ring is like, this is like what an open world game. Everything that I could have hoped for like a long time ago, but it's not going to help me going forward. Like understanding my emotions and everything like that is what's going to help me, which is depressing because I'm getting older and different things are mattering.
Those scary emotions.
Yeah, I flipping hate that. I'm crying at like RuPaul's Drag Race. Like for God's sake, so what's going on? God help me when I hit menopause. It's gonna be a mess. Can you imagine, like, I don't know, Resident Evil 17, where it's like Wesker turns good, is gonna have me a blubbering mess.
Yeah, absolutely. Silent Hill 4 remake, The Room /
remake 2,
Pyramid Heads Redemption,
the remake
or something
of
like.
the remake of Resident Evil.
More like the 3 make.
Ooh. That's a good place to round us up.
Thank you.
For the episode. It's been a year.
Yep.
You know, for all of us personally, for games, for fucking everything. There's been lots of changes this year. Lots of stuff that I hope you've enjoyed living through with us for this year. We'll of course be back next year with more games and more.
There's no more games.
That's it. Yeah, we're just a general chat podcast now. There's no more breweries. They've all gone bust. There's no more games. We've played all the best ones. We're just going to talk next year about fucking life. So come and join us each and every week, as you should. We won't round out the beers. We've had a couple this episode, which I think from kind of initial tastes we've enjoyed to varying degrees. But you can get us in all the normal places at Tanks of Cast, at outoflives.net, and everywhere that you want to. Try and find us, whether Twitter exists very soon. We don't have a Hive account because it doesn't work with companies and multiple accounts and these kinds of things yet. So yeah, other social platforms which have started to creep up. It's our end of year show. We are finishing out for the episode. So is there anything either of you would like to impart? A small thing, a game that people should play, a movie that people should watch, anything that you would like to just leave us on for the year?
Movie, I think Aadil will echo RRR.
Oh,
Go
fuck
watch
yeah.
that.
I forgot that was this year. Fuck yeah. Oh, RRR. Sorry, I was going
That's
from
really
like
good.
the very
Yeah.
emotional, dramatic discussion of Citizen Sleeper. RRR was one of my favorite theater going experiences of all time. And it's still great. Not in the theater. It's also
I
conveniently
stood up
anti-colonial.
shouting like this
Yeah.
at home.
Oh,
I can't
it's
even
so
imagine
good.
what it was being at this.
And if you haven't seen Bahubali 1 and Bahubali 2, which are on Netflix, which are the previous things
I'm
by the
gonna have to
director,
watch it.
do that as well.
I'm going to.
Nice.
but other than that, as always, love you too.
Yeah.
This is
Mhm.
always the highlight I've
Heck, it's the highlight of most of my weeks when I'm not fucking gallivanting around getting the flu somewhere else.
made in Durham.
No, hilariously, I was
No.
in Bristol and got the flu, but couldn't record last week because I was in Bristol, so I wasn't near, stuff like webcam and...
And I'd echo that, and it's the thing that pulls you through those
It does.
emotional
It does.
moments in life as well. And I wouldn't fucking trade this in. Just hanging out with my friends and fucking chatting shit.
Love
Yeah.
you both.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you listener, come and talk to us. We've got a Discord. Hit one of us up. I'm at Nova_47. Aadil is.
At the Omniarch.
Lucy is.
Juicy loose nine.
I think that's all the shit I need to impart on you and tell you.
Go have yourself a
Good
good
things.
holidays and a happy new year, listener.
Absolutely. Have a lovely winter break. Enjoy yourselves. Eat too much. Drink too much. If you don't celebrate the winter break, just enjoy yourself anyway. Play some games.
Yeah.
Hang out.
Stay warm.
Work hard. Don't work hard. Enjoy your family. Do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Love you all. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
www.outoflives.net